Chapter 441. Clatter. Han Fei took out a spiritual fruit from the water, which was just an ordinary spiritual fruit. Luda was lying on the ground. Just now, he tried to resist, only to be slapped down by a brick. Under Luda's shocked gaze, Han Fei grabbed the spiritual fruit, took a bite, and then looked at him. "I'm here to rob you, not to kill you." Luda's face was livid, and he gritted his teeth. "Really? I said I won't take it, so I won't. Remember, my name is Fan Datong, the black ghost of the black and white ghosts. Remember to take revenge on me in the future." Luda handed over his sea-swallowing seashell. He had lived frugally for more than half a year, and the wealth he had accumulated was exchanged for this harvest. In the end, because of his greed, everything was ruined here. Han Fei narrowed his eyes. Goodbye. Han Fei felt that the steps into the sea was the truly fair place in the level 3 fishery. This feeling of robbing people anytime and anywhere was really cool. Luda disappeared directly in front of Han Fei's eyes. He knew that with Han Fei's strength, if Han Fei wanted to kill him, he would die no matter whether he ran or not. Anyway, he had become a pauper now, so he could only leave the steps into the sea. No wonder people often said that the steps into the sea were dangerous. The real danger here actually came from human beings. Han Fei looked at a person disappearing in front of his eyes, a little curious. Why did this altar exist? Just to exploit these dangling fishers? Yes, in Han Fei's view, the steps into the sea was definitely a tool of exploitation, possibly a tool of exploitation by powerful figures. Every day, a large number of people offered sacrifices here, but few really got enough returns and went out smoothly. Han Fei himself was like this. Apart from a few checkpoints where they would use spiritual energy as a sacrifice, the rest of the items used were all snatched from others. But so far, although the quality of the things he robbed was high, the number of sacrifices had also increased. There were really not many that could be saved in his hands. Han Fei looked back, and the dragon eel was still lying there. For some reason, the creatures summoned from the steps into the sea didn't seem to know how to escape at all. Han Fei walked up to the dragon eel. This guy glanced at Han Fei with its hideous big head, and suddenly jumped up, biting at Han Fei. However, Han Fei dodged slightly, leaving a leg for the dragon eel. "Ouch, it hurts." Bang! Han Fei slapped the hexagon starfish so hard that the 6 big eyes of the hexagon starfish constricted. Master Hexagon Starfish thought to himself, "This big fish is really stupid. It hasn't figured out the situation yet." As soon as he saw Han Fei in the level 3 fishery, he knew that this guy didn't come with good intentions. He didn't even think of resisting. The dragon eel was probably having a mental breakdown at this moment. "Why can't I bite?" Was this person made of 9 heavens black iron? Han Fei pried open the dragon eel's teeth rudely, looked at the bite marks on his leg, and slapped the dragon eel's big face. "That's what you get for biting me, that's what you get for having a big mouth." After a dozen slaps, Han Fei jumped on the dragon eel's head and slapped it. "Keep swimming." On the large platform of the steps into the sea. From time to time, someone would exclaim, "Wow, isn't that the genius youngster Wang Yu? Why did he come out? Isn't that Luda? This guy is said to have passed 100 floors. Did he get some treasures? Huh? That's Zhou Ming. Why are there so many holes in his stomach?" When nearly 20 people appeared on the spring in the center of the steps into the sea, many people were not surprised anymore. Someone was speechless. Who did they meet? All of them were killed? Someone was puzzled. No way. If they met a strong master, there's no way they could still be alive. Someone guessed, could it be that someone summoned a special creature? They couldn't beat it, so they all came out? Someone nodded solemnly. It's possible. After a moment, someone came up to greet him. "Brother Wang, did you get anything? I'm short of some ultra-quality materials. If you have them, give them to me. The price is absolutely fair." The young man called Brother Wang said gloomily with a black face, "What materials do I have? The black and white ghosts robbed us on the 100th floor below. All our sea-swallowing seashells were robbed." On the other side, Luda scolded, "Hey! Who can tell me where these fucking black and white ghosts come from? Is there anyone who will wait for them to come out with me? Let's kill them together." Not far away, someone sneered. Brother Lu, who are you going to kill? Do you think you can kill the black and white ghosts? Lu De glared at him. What? The treasures I fought so hard for were all taken away by this guy. Can't I kill him? If I can't beat him, I can hire someone to do it. Someone chuckled. Come on. It seems that these guys were all killed by the black and white ghosts. But you'd better ask around first. In the entire steps into the sea, except for those children of the big clans who are practicing at the bottom level, who dares to kill the black and white ghosts? Luda's eyes glazed for a moment. Someone seemed to have transmitted something to him, and he looked more and more panicked. Eating people? They killed Lianqi? Is he on the wanted list? Gulp. Many people had just come out of the underground world and didn't know Fan Datong. Now that they heard of this person's misdeeds, they were stunned. Is this guy so terrifying? What's his background? In the steps into the sea, Han Fei had robbed 37 people in a row on the 101st floor. His mantra, robbing passers-by, not taking their lives, had even been widely spread outside the steps into the sea. However, no one thought that Han Fei dared not kill people. In the description of many people, Fan Datong and Xie Xiaoan were a pair of lunatics. How could a lunatic not dare to kill people? Therefore, everyone agreed that Fan Datong was building up momentum for himself, trying to let more and more people know about them and be afraid of them. Of course, Han Fei didn't know or care what others said. At this moment, he found that something big had happened. Chao Qiu said that the further down the steps into the sea, the smaller the space was. He was already on the 101st floor, and he had traveled at least 200 kilometers on the dragon eel. However, he didn't even finish the whole step. Of course, the important thing was not the size of the step, but that Xia Xiaochan seemed to have been here. In front of Han Fei, a young woman was looking at Han Fei in horror. Are you Black Ghost? Do you know me? It doesn't matter if you know me. Hand over your sea-swallowing seashell. The girl looked terrible. She lifted her clothes, revealing her lower abdomen. Han Fei raised his eyes. Ahem, let me tell you, it's useless to tempt me. I'm a very stubborn person. The girl looked a little angry, but she didn't dare to lose her temper. She could only grit her teeth and say, I was stabbed 3 times. The one in the white hat said her name was Xie Xiaoan. Have you seen Xie Xiaoan? Han Fei glanced at the girl's lower abdomen, on which there were 2 knife wounds, one on the left and one on the right, which seemed to have penetrated her body. Han Fei also keenly noticed that the clothes on the girl's chest were torn and there was blood oozing out. He was afraid that the 3rd stab should have fallen here. Han Fei glanced at the woman. Which direction did Xie Xiaoan go? Following the direction the woman pointed, Han Fei jumped on the dragon eel's head and slapped it. Let's go. More than half an hour later, Han Fei only met 2 people. These 2 people had one thing in common. They were both fighting with injuries. Where were the injuries? They were both on the abdomen, and both were stabbed by daggers. Han Fei suspected that Xia Xiaochan didn't intend to attack their summoned creatures at all because she thought it was too troublesome. She simply robbed them of their sea-swallowing seashells and then slipped away. Han Fei was about to chase her, but suddenly, he and the fish bumped into an invisible barrier. Is it a seal? The hexagon starfish nodded. This is the end. Han Fei was helpless. How far have we swum? The hexagon starfish waved its tentacles and rolled its eyes. Almost thousands of kilometers. Han Fei was speechless. Thousands of kilometers? The dragon eel was lazy and didn't swim fast. At this speed, it swam 500 kilometers at most. But there are so few people. How can we snatch them? In the steps into the sea, once the sea-swallowing seashells were taken away, there was basically no need to stay here. Without the sea-swallowing seashells, you could only sacrifice spiritual energy. But on the 101st floor, a random sacrifice required 100,000 points of spiritual energy. Ordinary dangling fishers wouldn't have so much spiritual energy even if they sold themselves. What else could they do except to go out? Now, Han Fei ran so far and only saw these 2 injured people. There was no doubt that they were both stabbed by Xia Xiaochan. When it came to stabbing people, Xia Xiaochan was a professional. Han Fei just didn't expect that Xia Xiaochan could also stab people with a stick. Did she replace the long stick in her hand with a spear? Xia Xiaochan's speed was so fast that she was ahead of him. Forget it, there's nothing good here anyway. Let's go straight to the 148th floor. Asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 442. To be honest, Chao Chio said how difficult it was after the 120th floor of the steps into the sea, but Han Fei really didn't feel it at all. He felt that he already knew the basic rules of the steps into the sea. Every 50 floors, it seemed that the level of the creatures summoned would increase by 1 level. And from the 101st floor to the 150th floor, the biggest difference between them was that the probability of encountering creatures above level 35 was getting higher and higher. In terms of strength, most of them were close to the level of the dragon eel. Considering that Xia Xiaochan was already clearing the floors one by one, Han Fei didn't waste any time. Every time he entered the next floor, he didn't even bother to move and directly sacrificed. On the 136th floor, he got another soul crystal. On the 142nd floor, Han Fei unexpectedly didn't summon anything and directly got the sacrifice prize. When Han Fei came to the 148th floor, he found that there was no one here. Because they had agreed to meet here, Han Fei didn't continue to the next floor but chose to clear this floor first. When Han Fei crossed the 148th floor, he found that the steps had indeed become smaller. If the 101st floor was really nearly 1,000 kilometers away, then the range of the 148th floor was only half that of the 101st floor. But even so, the range was still very large. Han Fei didn't rush to find Xia Xiaochan or Chao Chio, but sat on the ground and studied his gains during this period of time. He was speechless when he realized that ever since he entered the 101st level, he hadn't robbed anyone. Therefore, after nearly 50 sacrifices, all the things he had plundered, except for the 3 soul crystals, had been used as sacrifices. And those were not enough. He also used up 2 extra sea-swallowing seashells and a huge amount of materials. Suddenly, Han Fei had an epiphany. Where did all the things he sacrificed go? He boldly guessed that the things he sacrificed were taken by others after he sacrificed them, right? Han Fei felt that this was very possible. For now, he had already started to pay for them, and there were basically few really good things left. However, there were also some benefits to this. Some of the better materials were kept by him. There were countless garbage materials in his hundreds of sea-swallowing seashells, which could be used as sacrifices and then exchanged for better returns with the steps into the sea. So Han Fei began to sacrifice crazily. In one day, Han Fei used up 12 sea-swallowing seashells and sacrificed 26 times. This number scared Han Fei. He was shocked to find that at the 148th level, the offerings consumed for a single sacrifice, if converted into spiritual energy, were as much as 340,000 points. Fuck, it's not enough. Han Fei frowned. The returns from the 26 sacrifices were not bad. The worst one was a top-grade spirit tier battle skill, and the best one was a high-grade spirit robe. Unfortunately, spirit clothes were not battle armor, and their defensive power was not as strong as battle armor. However, Han Fei didn't care because this was the first high-quality spiritual garment he owned. Although the appearance of this spiritual robe was much worse than the one he had designed, it was still a piece of cake. A single piece of clothing could be said to be priceless. He did not sacrifice it for nothing. The number of soul crystals in Han Fei's hand also increased from 3 to 4. Under the hexagon starfish's strong request, Han Fei decided to give it one. At this moment, Han Fei was sitting on the ground, looking at the hexagon starfish. Han Fei asked, "Master Hexagon, it's been 100 minutes. Haven't you digested the soul crystal yet?" The hexagon starfish's big eyes were motionless, but he said via voice transmission, "Still digesting." "So slow." Han Fei quickly asked, "Are you having trouble digesting it? If you can't digest it, spit it out quickly. I don't mind your saliva." The hexagon starfish said, "I need to digest it slowly. It can't be so fast." After a whole day, the hexagon starfish's eyes rolled. "Okay, My perception range seems to have expanded by 50 meters. I feel that my tentacles seem to be a little more flexible. Han Fei's face suddenly turned black. One soul crystal, 50 meters? Hurry up and tell me how to absorb this thing. The hexagon starfish paused for a moment. Cultivation. We starfish also need to cultivate. Han Fei was speechless. Then tell me, how on earth do I cultivate? The hexagon starfish replied, it's the cultivation method of bloodline inheritance. Don't you have one? But I have a hammer. Han Fei slapped its tentacle and said ferociously, do I look like someone with a bloodline inheritance? The hexagon starfish quickly withdrew its tentacles. Actually, it's okay not to cultivate. As long as you wrap it with spiritual power, it will slowly melt. When Han Fei heard this, he quickly took out a soul crystal and held it in his hand. It was not difficult to control it with spiritual power. The knives of the million knife art were all dominated and controlled by spiritual power. It turned out to be so simple. Han Fei almost instantly wrapped the soul crystal in his hand with spiritual power. An hour later, Han Fei suddenly opened his eyes and said with a black face, why is the absorption speed so slow? Han Fei felt that it took him an hour to absorb less than 1/10 of the soul crystal. And his spiritual perception seemed to have increased by less than 5 meters. The hexagon starfish's big eyes kept rolling. Because I have a way to cultivate. Han Fei slapped over, only to see the hexagon starfish suddenly retract its tentacles, and he slapped the ground. Master hexagon starfish, your reaction has become faster? The hexagon starfish swished and hung on Han Fei's back. Like I said, my tentacles seem to have become more flexible. Han Fei wondered, does this soul crystal have such an effect? Han Fei continued to absorb. 2 hours later, he felt that the soul crystal in his hand was a little smaller. However, it would probably take another day for it to be completely absorbed. Suddenly, Han Fei thought of something. Is my God-scaring painting a cultivation method? The God-scaring painting was just a painting, and it had been cut into 1,000 pieces by Han Fei. However, it was too difficult to visualize and he was extremely short of time, so he just let it be. However, could visualization also be a cultivation method? Otherwise, he had paid close attention to how the hexagon starfish cultivated just now. This guy had no energy fluctuations all over its body, and even its big eyeballs had stopped rolling. In his mind, when a picture with complicated lines appeared, Han Fei felt his heart tremble, and the soul crystal in his hand disappeared almost instantly. Immediately afterward, Han Fei seemed to feel that there was suddenly a trace of satisfaction in his mind, just like the first bite of food after he was extremely hungry. His whole body was full of joy. Han Fei felt that his memory seemed to have become better. All of this took less than 10 breaths of time. When he opened his eyes again, the picture of that small piece of the God-scaring painting had been completely engraved in his mind. But is it really a cultivation method? As soon as Han Fei turned his head, he saw the hexagon starfish lying on his shoulder, staring at Han Fei's palm and then at Han Fei's head with its big eyes. The hexagon starfish was shocked. Do you have a soul cultivation method? Han Fei grinned. I think so. The hexagon starfish was discouraged. Human beings are all big octopuses that deceive people. Obviously, you have an inheritance too. Han Fei was not in the mood to pay attention to the hexagon starfish at this moment. He sensed with his spirit and found that the range of his perception had increased by another 50 meters. Han Fei's expression changed, and another soul crystal appeared in his hand. After 10 seconds, another soul crystal appeared in his hand. When the last soul crystal disappeared, the range of Han Fei's spiritual perception had increased to 450 meters. This was equivalent to him visualizing the God-scaring painting for 3 months. Good stuff. Han Fei suddenly rose to his feet, his eyes glowing with surprise. No wonder soul crystals are so rare. I didn't expect that with the cultivation method, I can improve so fast. But then Han Fei's face stiffened, as if something was wrong. Even without the God-scaring painting, it seemed that it would only take him about a day to absorb a soul crystal. No matter how rare soul crystals were, it didn't seem difficult for people like Chao Chiu to get them. In particular, it seemed that more people didn't even know what soul crystals were. This made it easy for a large number of soul crystals to fall into the hands of those with money, power, and status. In this way, didn't it mean that these descendants of the big clans could infinitely improve their soul and perception range? Han Fei's face changed slightly. Master Hexagon Starfish, how many soul crystals do you think you can absorb? Watching Han Fei absorb 3 soul crystals, the Hexagon Starfish almost drooled with envy. Hearing Han Fei's question, he thought Han Fei had found his conscience and was going to give him a few more in the future. A lot? Han Fei asked. How many is a lot? The Hexagon Starfish muttered, definitely more tentacles than mine. Fuck off. Han Fei was speechless. It's so hard to chat with a starfish who is not good at math. You only have 6 fucking tentacles in total. Does it mean more tentacles than you? Second update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 443. Han Fei had been cultivating on the 148th floor for 2 days when a sneaky little fatty appeared at the end of his sight. When Chao Qiu saw Han Fei, he jumped up and waved at Han Fei. I'm here, I'm here. Han Fei greeted him enthusiastically and stretched out a hand. Chao Qiu? Han Fei asked, do you have a soul crystal? Chao Qiu looked at Han Fei in a daze. I didn't hit him. Han Fei immediately withdrew his gaze in disgust. Haven't you been to the 148th floor? Why did you arrive so late? Chao Qiu was speechless. It only took me 3 days to arrive. When did you arrive? Han Fei replied, I arrived on the first day. Chao Qiu's body stiffened, and then his little fat face drooped. Sure enough, you people. You're all the same. Han Fei asked, what? Chao Qiu snorted. Nothing. Where is Xia Xiaochun? Han Fei said seriously, it's Xia Xiaoan. Chao Qiu curled his lips. What about Xia Xiaoan? Why hasn't she arrived yet? Han Fei said indifferently, she is robbing people up there. She will probably arrive in 2 days. Hearing that Xia Xiaochan was robbing people, Chao Qiu was not surprised at all. He had seen too many robberies. He muttered, what's so good about robbing people up there? Han Fei asked Chao Qiu about soul crystals, mainly about the upper limit of the use of soul crystals. Chao Qiu's answer shocked Han Fei. Chao Qiu said, there is no upper limit for the use of soul crystals. At that time, Han Fei was stunned and dumbfounded. Han Fei couldn't help asking, what is the range of your spiritual perception? Chao Qiu replied, 800 meters. How much? Han Fei's eyes almost popped out. Although Chao Qiu was theoretically a small realm higher than him, his perception range of 800 meters really shocked him. However, Han Fei then asked, since there is no upper limit for the use of soul crystals, why is your perception range so low? Soul crystals don't seem to be rare for people like you, right? Chao Qiu chuckled. How can it be so simple? When your perception range reaches 500 meters, you will find that the effect of an ordinary level 1 soul crystal is already 10 times worse. Rank 2 soul crystals are extremely rare, so don't be fooled by my 800-meter range. Do you know how many soul crystals I used? I've used 70 or 80 of them. Han Fei was lost for words. What a prodigal! 70 to 80 soul crystals was quite a lot. However, this number wasn't much. With Chao Qiu's identity, he should be able to get at least 70 or 80 soul crystals. Chao Qiu knew what Han Fei was thinking and said, soul crystals are not so easy to get. Usually, it would only appear on the 120th floor and above. However, those who could reach the 120th floor and above were practically no weaklings. Only those who knew nothing would choose to sell. Those who truly know the effects of soul crystals usually won't sell them. Han Fei's eyes turned cold. Then do you know how far the perception range of the younger generation in the Thousand-Star City is? Chao Qiu replied without thinking, 3,200 meters. How much? Han Fei was shocked again and looked at Chao Qiu in astonishment. 3,200? How many fucking soul crystals did you use? Chao Qiu grinned. Haha, I don't remember how many. Anyway, when Chao Tian came out last time, It was already 3,200. Now it is estimated to be 3,500. Your brother? Chao Chiu sighed. Of course. Actually, he should have broken through to be a peak-level dangling fisher long ago and gone back to the Thousand-Star City. But he wanted to break through the steps into the sea. I don't know how many floors he has reached this time, but I think it should be more than the 208th floor. Han Fei was shocked. What kind of tough guy was Chao Chiu's brother? In Chao Chiu's words, how long has Chao Tian been fighting here? How many soul crystals did he use to increase his spiritual perception range to more than 3,000 meters? 2 days later, Xia Xiaochan arrived. When she saw Han Fei and Chao Chiu, she bared her teeth and smiled very happily. Xia Xiaochan said, "I'm here." Han Fei responded lightly, "Yeah. Have you cleaned up the floors?" Xia Xiaochan glanced at Han Fei in surprise. "How did you know?" Han Fei said with a smile, "I knew it when I found that all the people who wanted to rob were stabbed by you." Chao Chiu interjected, "Why didn't I know?" Han Fei asked, "Did you rob them?" Chao Chiu shook his head. "No wonder. I was wondering why I felt that there were fewer people when I came here. It turns out that they have all been cleaned up by you." Xia Xiaochan grabbed a large handful of sea-swallowing seashells and looked at Han Fei as if presenting a treasure. "Look, I robbed more than 600 sea-swallowing seashells. Do you want them? I can give you some." Chao Chiu, Han Fei covered his head. "Keep them for yourself. The further we go, the greater the sacrifice will be. I suspect that when we reach the 200th floor, each sacrifice will cost nearly 1,000,000 points of spiritual energy or items of equal value. A sea-swallowing seashell is very likely not enough for one sacrifice." Xia Xiaochan put away the sea-swallowing seashell. "I also think that the sacrifice is too expensive. Then we have to rob hard on each floor after that." Chao Chiu was dumbfounded as he watched from the side. What kind of people did he make friends with? He knew that Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were powerful, but he didn't expect them to be so powerful. Han Fei easily reached the 148th floor in one day. Xia Xiaochan cleaned up all the way, and it only took her 5 days to rob more than 600 sea-swallowing seashells. How ferocious were these two people? How could they be so crazy and unscrupulous as to loot in the steps into the sea? Chao Chiu quickly stood up and said, "Don't. It's too troublesome to clean up floor by floor. Let's go straight to the 180th floor." Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan looked at Chao Chiu at the same time. But Chao Chiu said matter-of-factly, "Of course, if you rob floor by floor, you may get hundreds of sea-swallowing seashells. However, the real heavenly talents and the children of the big clans are all below the 180th floor. Among them, the 200th and 201st floors have the most. At that time, if you can find a way to sweep these two floors, I guarantee that you will make a lot of money." Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan smiled at each other and shook their heads tacitly. "Let's rob floor by floor." Chao Chiu was dumbfounded. But Xia Xiaochan curled her lips. "As you said, so many strong masters are on the 200th and 201st floors. What if we can't beat them?" Han Fei nodded. "That's true. No matter how small a white shrimp is, it has meat. Besides, we are already on the 148th floor, and there are almost no weak people who can make it here. So, we can't let go of any of them." Chao Chiu, Xia Xiaochan was a very straightforward person. After the three met without saying a word, she took out a sea-swallowing seashell and sacrificed it. A illusion jellyfish was quickly killed by her with the 1,000-strike technique within 10 minutes. Chao Chiu was stunned by her smooth battle process. Han Fei had already finished and was looking at Chao Chiu. "We're waiting for you. Hurry up." "Chao Chiu. You have to wait for me for a while." "Han Fei?" Chao Chiu sacrificed and summoned a ghost serpent. Han Fei exclaimed in surprise. Back then, in the deep-sea jungle of the Level 2 fishery, Zhang Xuanyu was almost killed by this thing. Xia Xiaochan sat cross-legged on the ground next to Han Fei, and then said to him via voice transmission, "I found a secret." Han Fei frowned. "What secret?" Xia Xiaochan's face changed, and she said secretly, There are man-fish in the steps into the sea. Han Fei was surprised. What? You summoned a man-fish? Xia Xiaochan shook her head. I didn't, but I smelled the smell of man-fish from the creatures I summoned. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. What kind of man-fish? Xia Xiaochan pursed her lips and recalled. It seems to be the most disgusting kind. But it also seems to have the smell of inferior man-fish, but it is very weak. With that, Xia Xiaochan tilted her head and looked at Han Fei. Where do you think these summoned creatures come from? Han Fei shook his head. I don't know. However, if there are man-fish, I'm afraid the road ahead will be dangerous. But I believe there shouldn't be any man-fish on the 200th floor. But beyond the 200th floor, it's hard to say. Xia Xiaochan nodded. Actually, I lied to him just now. In fact, I snatched more than 800 sea-swallowing seashells. Han Fei was amused. He suddenly hugged Xia Xiaochan's head and kissed her on the cheek. This girl was so cute. Han Fei felt that Xia Xiaochan was really stupid when she should be smart, but she was stupid when she shouldn't be smart. Xia Xiaochan was annoyed, wiped her mouth with her hand, and asked, What are you doing? Han Fei said with a smile, With Chao Qiu, who is not good at math, it makes no difference whether you have 600 or 1,000. What he cares about is not this thing at all. But keep your sea-swallowing seashells. Anyway, we will meet on every floor below. When there are no more, I will be with you. On the other side, Chao Qiu's eyes caught the scene of Han Fei kissing Xia Xiaochan. While he was dazed, the ghost serpent hit him in the stomach and he was sent flying hundreds of meters away. Chao Qiu said angrily, You are too much. I am fighting, and you are actually in love next to me. The author said, To the question of how long it will take to get to the level 3 fishery, wait for me. I can't be fast even if I want to. A lot of plots are strung together, so I need to take my time. End of this chapter. Chapter 444. Chao Qiu's fighting style was very strange, or rather, this little fatty didn't know how to fight at all. In Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan's eyes, Chao Qiu was wearing an ultra-quality battle suit, holding an ultra-quality spiritual weapon big shield in his left hand, an ultra-quality spiritual weapon war hammer in his right hand, and 2 ultra-quality moon scimitars floating beside him. His equipment was so gorgeous that it almost blinded Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan's eyes. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan's eyes were almost popping out of their sockets. They couldn't wait to snatch this little fatty away. But this was not the most amazing thing. His spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts were really eye-openers for Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan. In Han Fei's eyes, data appeared. Name, Blazing Fish, Chao Qiu's spiritual beast. Introduction, an exotic fish of the light and shadow type. It can emit 3 different kinds of light. The intense light can cause blindness. The flame light has overbearing lethality. The mysterious blue light has hallucinogenic effects. Level 33 quality legendary contains soul energy greater than 820 points. Han Fei was dumbfounded. How the hell did this little fatty give birth to such a magical spiritual beast? A spiritual beast with 3 kinds of power. Could blind, hallucinogenic, and attack. In terms of ability, it was not inferior to the 9-tailed mantis shrimp. Although ability didn't matter how much it was, but how effective it was in fighting against the enemy, a legendary spiritual beast was definitely not bad. At this moment, the blazing fish's eyes were glowing like stage lights, flashing and shooting out laser beams. The ghost serpent on the other side didn't even know where to attack. It was probably blinded by the light. But in such an advantageous situation, Chao Qiu didn't have the slightest urge to rush forward and fight. On the contrary, he called out his contractual spiritual beast. When he saw this contractual spiritual beast, Han Fei was stunned again. After all, it was destined that your spiritual beast was weird, but why is your contractual spiritual beast also so weird? At this moment, 2 contractual spiritual beasts appeared beside Chao Qiu. Names, Poisonous Bubblefish, Chao Qiu's contractual spiritual beast. Introduction, a fish as soft as a jellyfish. Its whole body is highly poisonous. It can split and recombine, and it can spit poisonous bubbles to attack the enemy. Level 36 Quality Exotic contains spiritual energy greater than 2,156 points. Food eats poisonous insects and plants. Remark, in its perfect state, it can completely turn into venom. Han Fei was quite calm when he saw the bubble fish. It was a kind of soft fish with an ugly appearance and a transparent body. At this moment, the ugly fish was spitting bubbles at the ghost serpent. The bubbles were the size of a palm, like soap bubbles played by a child. In the blink of an eye, there were over 100 of them. Then Chao Chio kept shouting, "Shaoin, hurry up and smash it to death." The one named Cloud was another contractual spiritual beast of Chao Chio. Named Cloud Dolphin, Chao Chio's contractual spiritual beast. Introduction: a creature with extremely high defensive power. When it encounters danger, it will turn into a ball. No matter how many sharp weapons attack it, it will not break. At its peak state, its entire body's defensive power will increase by 9 times. Level 32 Quality Exotic contains spiritual energy greater than 1916 points. Food, like spiritual plants. Remarks, current state, 3 times the defense. The body of this cloud dolphin looked like a ball fish, but it was white and looked much better than a ball fish. At this moment, this cloud dolphin was round and rammed at the ghost serpent like a cannonball. And Chao Chio himself used the 2 moon scimitars to launch sneak attacks from time to time. Occasionally, he would circle to the side of the ghost serpent and suddenly hit it with the heavy hammer in his hand. However, what made Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan dumbfounded was that Chao Chio always ran away as soon as he hit the hammer, for fear that the ghost serpent would swing its tail and hit him. Han Fei gnashed his teeth and said, "I really want to kill this little fatty. He's too fucking rich." Xia Xiaochan's face was black. "I want to kill him too. He is the most cowardly person I have ever seen. Even if he just stands there, I'm afraid the ghost serpent can't hurt him." "What is he afraid of?" Han Fei resisted the urge to kill Chao Chio and said angrily, "Damn it, can't you just kill this ghost serpent?" Chao Chio said in panic, "I'm already working very hard. Look how fierce my attacks are." "Fierce my ass. You've been fighting for a long time and only launched 3 sneak attacks." While performing, Chao Chio responded, "This is my tactic. Let the enemy run for his life, and I will naturally be invincible." Swish, Xia Xiaochan flashed and appeared next to the ghost serpent, cutting it from head to tail with the dagger in her hand. When the ghost serpent swung its tail horizontally, Xia Xiaochan flashed again and had already reached the bottom of the ghost serpent, cutting another huge wound. This was repeated 3 times, and the supreme stab directly penetrated the ghost serpent's head. Xia Xiaochan flashed and returned to Han Fei's side. Han Fei said, "Xia Xiaochan, you've been exposed." Xia Xiaochan said, "I can't stand this guy anymore." With a flash of light, Chao Chio's spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts were all taken back by him. Immediately afterward, all the ultra-quality spiritual weapons on him that were armed to the teeth also disappeared into his body. Chao Chio glanced at Xia Xiaochan cautiously. "I can kill it alone." Xia Xiaochan glared back. "Shut up and go to the next floor. If you dawdle again, I'll kill you too." Chao Chio shivered and immediately shut up. After grabbing a jade slip in the water ball, his body began to fade gradually. Han Fei had a headache and could only comfort her on the side. "Don't be angry. He's just a little afraid of death. Let's go. Let's go to the next floor and search. I guess he's almost finished after we've searched." On the 149th floor, Han Fei ran around for nearly an hour and robbed 6 people, but he didn't meet Xia Xiaochan, but he met Chao Chio who was fighting. This guy was still fighting exactly the same way as just now, which made Han Fei's eyes burn. Han Fei couldn't help but go up and hit the crab with 2 bricks. Chao Chio was surprised. "Let me tell you, in fact, it would be dead in half an hour." Han Fei snorted. "Shut up. Next time, hurry up. You're covered in ultra-quality spiritual weapons. Why are you dawdling over there? Believe it or not, I will kill you and take away all your ultra-quality spiritual weapons." Chao Chio curled his lips. "You can't kill me." Han Fei really wanted to hit this guy's head with a brick. "How dare you call yourself a genius? And you want to kill the children of other big clans in the Thousand Star City? I'm afraid that any fucking person can beat you to the ground and make you kneel on the ground and call me daddy. After another half an hour, Han Fei finally found Xia Xiaochan, and then they entered the 150th floor. The 150th floor was the last floor of the third level of the steps into the sea. There were as many as 100 people staying here, which made Han Fei very happy. At this moment, Han Fei was shouting to a group of 5 people, "I'm here to rob you, not to kill you." Xia Xiaochan stood next to Han Fei. "Hand over your sea-swallowing seashells and I'll spare your lives." Before, it was Han Fei or Xia Xiaochan who went alone. At this moment, the black and white double ghosts could finally act together, and their behavior was surprisingly similar. However, the first thing the 5 people paid attention to was not Han Fei or Xia Xiaochan, but Chao Qiu, who was desperate. Someone said coldly, "Young Master Chao, we don't seem to have offended you, right?" Chao Qiu shrugged. "It's none of my business. I didn't rob you." Someone was so angry that he gnashed his teeth. "Young Master Chao, we have no grudge against you. Why do you have to make things difficult for us?" Han Fei snorted. "Hey, the 2 of us are the robbers, okay?" Xia Xiaochan nodded in agreement. "Where's the most basic respect between people? What's there to be afraid of? We, the black and white ghosts, are the scariest." Chao Qiu smiled bitterly. "These 2 are simply a fucking perfect match. If these 2 didn't fall in love, it would be intolerable." Someone tried to fight back, but when Han Fei took out the blood-drinking knife and smashed a high-quality spiritual weapon, everyone was stunned. Xia Xiaochan's footwork was weird. When she stabbed a person in the stomach with a stick, someone gave up. Someone was horrified. Is she a fucking soul warrior or a hunter? Why were battle soul masters even weirder than hunters? Someone crushed a flash stone, and then with a bang, it hit the 6-gate formation. The 5 people were desperate and looked at Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan in horror. "Brother, let's talk." Han Fei went up and hit them with a brick. "Why did you resist? Why did you disrespect me?" Tears were about to fall from these people's eyes. These 2 were real bullies. Sometimes, robbers could still bargain for a bit. But these 2 robbers wanted others to respect their words. Everyone looked at Chao Qiu, who was looking around not far away, and took out their sea-swallowing seashells. At the same time, they were shocked. Who the hell are these black and white ghosts? Why are they so fierce that even the young master of the Chao family doesn't want to offend them? After a moment, Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, head-to-head, were picking sea-swallowing seashells with a big starfish. Xia Xiaochan exclaimed, "Wow, this! I found a battle suit here. Unfortunately, it's not for a woman. Here you go." Han Fei took it and looked at it. "A high-quality battle suit, I already have one. Okay, I'll keep it." Suddenly, Han Fei said, "Hey, Xia Xiaoan, I have 2 daggers here, high-quality spiritual weapons. You can use them." Xia Xiaochan nodded. "Let me tell you a secret, I have a better one now." On the other side, Chao Qiu was speechless. Why the hell did I find these 2 people to be my allies? What the fuck? Could they still have fun like this? Especially Han Fei. Chao Qiu felt that this guy didn't seem to care about hiding. Otherwise, can you fucking tell me, why did you give a dagger to a soul warrior? To eat? From time to time, the starfish with 6 eyes saw something shiny and immediately said, "This is mine. Give this to me." Chao Qiu felt tired. Damn it, where did they get this talking starfish? Chao Qiu had always thought that the starfish clinging to Han Fei was an ornament. But now, the ornament suddenly spoke. "You 3, do you think I don't exist?" Chapter 445. The reason why Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan subconsciously ignored Chao Qiu was because of his wretched fighting style. A man armed to the teeth with an ultra-quality spiritual weapon, a man with a legendary spiritual beast, a man with a super defensive contractual spiritual beast and the disgusting poisonous bubble fish. He was fighting like a 5-year-old child. No matter who it was, their mental defenses would crumble on the 151st floor. After coming here, Han Fei found that it would cost 500,000 points of spiritual energy to sacrifice at a time. Of course, Han Fei didn't want to sacrifice with spiritual stones, but directly sacrificed an entire sea-swallowing seashell. The creature summoned here was level 39 as soon as it appeared. Besides, it was not the ordinary level 39, but the kind of creature that was stuck at the threshold of a breakthrough. It seemed that it would break through to level 40 at any time and reach another realm. Han Fei was shocked. Are the creatures here so strong? If they encountered such a creature on the 151st floor, what would happen on the 201st floor? Although the creatures here were a little weaker than mutant creatures like the monstrous octopus, they were only a little weaker. At this moment, Han Fei summoned a 1,000-blade turtle. This was much higher level than the one Lu Renquan caught. Fortunately, this was a 1,000-blade turtle. If it were a water arrow turtle, Han Fei would have to spend more effort. This 1,000-blade turtle might have better luck if it encountered other people. However, at this moment, it was facing Han Fei. Even if it threw 1,000 blades, it couldn't shake Han Fei at all. At this moment, Han Fei was wearing a high-quality battle suit, so he just let the blades slash on his body. As for himself, he held the embroidery needle and smashed the 1,000-bladed tortoise. Bim! The 1,000-blade turtle's limbs were too weak and it was smashed to the ground by Han Fei. Han Fei grinned. Since he used the embroidery needle, he hadn't seen many creatures that could resist the power of the embroidery needle. Only creatures like the tortoise had tyrannical defensive power and strength that far surpassed other creatures of the same level could withstand the repeated smashes of the embroidery needle. When the three of them gathered again, there were another 118 sea-swallowing seashells. Among them, none of the sea-swallowing seashells was robbed by Cao Qiu. When Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan found Cao Qiu, he was chatting with a group of people. When Han Fei and Xia Xiaobai arrived, none of those people could escape. He asked Cao Qiu why he was sitting and chatting with people in the steps into the sea. It turned out that those people all knew Cao Qiu and knew that the young master of the Cao family didn't like robbing people. No one dared to rob him because of his identity, so this weird scene happened. The 188th floor. Here, the range of the steps into the sea was even smaller, less than 400 miles. It was also here that Han Fei met the second descendant of the 1,000-star city besides Cao Qiu. Han Fei didn't have time to find Xia Xiaochan and Cao Qiu. As soon as he appeared on the 188th floor, he saw people fighting several miles away. The young man who was fighting was holding a superior-grade spiritual sword. His arms seemed to have turned into two swords, and there was a faint yellow profound light under his feet. At this moment, this young man was circling around a green sun centipede as he fought. Every time his figure appeared, there would always be a frightening blade aura, and then a few centipede legs would be cut off by his sword. Han Fei came here with the mentality of watching a robbery. However, as soon as he was 500 meters away from the battle between the two, he heard a shout. "Get lost!" Han Fei looked around and found that there was no one else. Obviously, this person was talking to him. Thus, he walked another 100 meters forward. The young man suddenly appeared on the head of the big centipede, and the sharp blade in his hand tore off a large piece of the centipede's carapace. At the same time, the young man tilted his head and glanced at Han Fei. "I told you to get lost or die." Han Fei was amused when he heard this. This young man was not weak. As an advanced dangling fisher, his combat power was at least stronger than that of ordinary peak-level dangling fishers. Perhaps because this young man was used to being arrogant, he was extremely contemptuous of Han Fei, who was peeping on the side, and threatened him. Han Fei grinned. "Come on, get lost. Let me try." The two swords in the young man's hands suddenly merged, and an astonishing sword energy tens of meters long instantly pierced the head of the big centipede. The young man didn't even look at the centipede, grabbed the floating water ball, and threw it into the sea-swallowing seashell. Then, the young man held the swords in both hands and walked towards Han Fei step by step. Intermediate dangling fisher, since you can reach the 188th floor, you must be a heavenly talent. However, I have seen a lot of heavenly talents, but most of them will die under my sword. Han Fei said with a smile. "Who are you?" Do you have to be so arrogant? The corners of the young man's mouth trembled twice, revealing a trace of ruthlessness. Since you can come here, you are qualified to know my name. My name is Wang Zitian, the last person you will ever see in your life. With that said, Wang Zitian stepped on the ground and his body had already rushed out dozens of meters. What was faster than him was a wisp of his sword intent. After seeing that sword intent, Han Fei narrowed his eyes slightly. Knives and swords were so strong that in many cases, the knife light and sword intent alone could hurt people. His drawing technique was a killing technique with saber radiance. The knife light flashed as if to sweep away all the obstacles on the way ahead and directly cut the enemy in front of him. And this sword attack of Wang Zitian made Han Fei understand that this was a young man who had comprehended sword intent. With just this wisp of sword intent, few ordinary peak-level dangling fishers could match him. The reason why Wang Zitian used sword intent in the first move as soon as they met was precisely because he recognized Han Fei. In the eyes of these strong masters, realm didn't mean everything. Those who could come here all relied on their strength. Han Fei didn't dare to neglect this person. This person was not the first genius powerhouse he had met. In addition to Xia Shaochan and the other three, the Sun Mu trio was definitely not weak. Immediately, a battle between evenly matched strong masters somehow emerged in Han Fei's mind. In an instant, the blood-drinking knife moved. Just when the wisp of sword intent was 10 meters away from Han Fei, pup, there was no violent explosion, nor were there layers of vibrating ripples. Like a bubble in the sea, the knife light and the sword intent offset each other and then annihilated each other. Humph, interesting. Then let's see my explosive sword flow again. Suddenly, a flickering light ignited between Wang Zitian's hands. What Han Fei saw was not the two swords between Wang Zitian's hands, but thousands of swords above him. At Wang Zitian's side, thousands of sword shadows advanced side by side, like a wall of swords pushing forward. The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Before the swords arrived, the seawater beside him had already begun to roll back, and the rolling water had already set off a force of 1,000 pounds. Han Fei glanced at the blood-drinking knife in his hand and immediately sheathed it at his waist. The embroidery needle was raised horizontally, and spiritual energy gushed from the tip of the rod. Han Fei held the tail of the rod and attacked with all his strength, without holding back at all. The blood-drinking knife was suitable for surprise attacks, but in the face of people like Wang Zitian, there was no problem of sneak attacks. In this kind of head-on confrontation, the advantage of strange moves was no longer there. All Han Fei could do was to attack with force. In an instant, the water was pierced by Han Fei's rod, setting off a huge wave, which blasted straight at the awe-inspiring sword wall. Bang! At the moment when the rod and the sword collided, it exploded like a warhead detonating in the water, and a circle of ripples shook out dozens of kilometers away in the blink of an eye. Puff! Wang Zitian took 7 or 8 steps back in a row, blood oozing from the corners of his mouth, and his arms drooping. When the awe-inspiring sword intent disappeared, Han Fei gently put down the embroidery needle. I didn't expect that a sword user could be so strong. However, young man, you chose the wrong target. I, the Black Ghost, can steal people's souls, and even ghosts dare to avoid me. You're still too young to kill me. Wang Zitian tilted his head, spat out a mouthful of blood fiercely and casually, and then said with a cold face, "Not bad, but do you think you can rob me with this?" Wang Zitian's body stood straight, like a sword hanging from the sky, proud and straight. Han Fei put the embroidery needle vertically in front of him. Maybe you still have trump cards, but you absolutely can't escape. I'm sorry, brother, to rob a passerby and kill a man for a life. At this time, Han Fei didn't know who Wang Zitian was. But this kind of person was not simple at first glance. In order to prevent this person from going out and making trouble for him, he gave up the previous principle of not taking Wang Zitian's life. He would kill this kind of genius if he could. Suddenly, Han Fei seemed to understand something. Why did some people like to torture and kill heavenly talents? Because if these people didn't die, who knew how much trouble they would bring to him in the future? It was easy to kill them now, but he might not have a chance to kill them in the future. Just when Han Fei was about to continue, he suddenly saw a petite and a slightly fat figure swimming over. Fandom. Han Fei turned his head and looked at them. You're here? Chapter 446. Just when the scene was at loggerheads, Cao Qiu came. Wang Zitian's fighting intent faded a little when he saw Cao Qiu. Cao Qiu stared at Wang Zitian in surprise. Two swords, you are here too? Wang Zitian's face suddenly darkened. I dare you to call me that again. Cao Qiu stuck out his tongue at Wang Zitian. Two swords, two swords, two swords. Wang Zitian slashed at him with his sword. Then he saw a big ball blocking in front of Cao Qiu, which was his cloud dolphin with strong defensive power. After slashing, Wang Zitian jumped back a few steps. Because Xia Xiaochan was stroking the stick in her hand and she was very hostile. Wang Zitian frowned. Cao Qiu, who are they? Cao Qiu glanced at Han Fei, then patted his chest and said, my teammate. Xia Xiaochan glanced at Han Fei. Do you want to rob them? Han Fei glanced at Cao Qiu and then looked at Wang Zitian. It's useless. Hand over your sea-swallowing seashell. Cao Qiu hurriedly shouted, hey, don't. Although Two Swords is a bit arrogant, he is a good guy. We can make him our teammate. Impossible. Han Fei and Wang Zitian shouted at the same time. Cao Qiu grunted. But Han Fei grinned. If he hands over his sea-swallowing seashell, we can continue to be good friends. Wang Zitian sneered. In your dreams. Although you are powerful, it's impossible for you to keep me here. Just as Wang Zitian finished the sentence, he saw 6 purple lights floating in the air. In the blink of an eye, Wang Zitian was trapped inside. Wang Zitian frowned and pinched an ancient jade in his hand. The next moment, a majestic sword intent that seemed to penetrate the world fell on the 6-gate formation with a clang. However, a scene that shocked Wang Zitian happened. The purple light formation was only a little weakened, but it recovered in the blink of an eye. How is it possible? Wang Zitian's heart skipped a beat. When he was about to launch another sword strike, he found that Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were already standing in the 6-gate formation. The hexagon starfish said to him via voice transmission, this man is so strong. I can't trap him anymore with that kind of power just now. Han Fei said telepathically, don't worry. He won't have a chance to use it 3 times. Outside the 6-gate formation, Cao Qiu hurriedly shouted, don't fight. Black and white impermanence, our target is not Two Swords, but those guys on the 200th floor. Han Fei said leisurely, didn't you say that the descendants of the big clans in the 1,000-star city deserve to die? Cao Qiu quickly explained, not all of them deserve to die. Two Swords is an exception. Han Fei thought for a moment. Hey you, give me the soul crystals and I'll let you go. Wang Zitian looked at Cao Qiu. Did you find them to deal with those guys? Cao Qiu nodded repeatedly. Wang Zitian glanced at the 6-gate formation, then at Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, snorted coldly, and threw out 3 soul crystals. Wang Zitian said, after this trip, you and I will fight fair and square. Han Fei grabbed the soul crystals, threw 2 to Xia Xiaochan, and said telepathically, wrap the soul crystals with your spiritual power and absorb them. Your perception range will be increased by 100 meters in about 2 days. Xia Xiaochan was slightly taken aback. Really? I've also snatched 5, but I haven't used them yet. Han Fei staggered. Where did you get so many? Xia Xiaochan said, you didn't rob them, but I robbed them floor by floor. I saw you buy it before, so I've been paying attention. Do you want it? I'll split it with you. Han Fei slightly shook his head. I don't want it. It seemed that once one's perception reached 500 meters, 1 or 2 soul crystals wouldn't be able to change it. Every time, there would be at least dozens of them. Even if you give me everything, I won't be able to increase it by much. Xia Xiaochan nodded slightly. Of course, she wouldn't doubt what Han Fei said, let alone care about who gave what to whom. The few of them were used to sharing good things among themselves, so they wouldn't deliberately hold back. Han Fei turned his head and glanced at Master Hexagon Starfish. Withdraw the formation, Master Hexagon Starfish. Swish! When the six-gate formation disappeared, Han Fei said with a smile, "Hey! Hey, you are not bad. Let's fight together." Wang Zetian glanced at Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, then looked at Chao Qiu and said, "What's the use of 4 soul warriors getting together? How can we fight against those guys?" Han Fei was a little surprised. Chao Qiu and the others were really going to form a team to fight against the children of other big clans in the Thousand Star City? This confused Han Fei. Chao Qiu and the others seemed to be children of big clans in the Thousand Star City, right? Why did they hate each other so much? Chao Qiu grinned. "It's okay, I'm prepared." Wang Zetian looked at Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan and his expression changed a few times. "Okay. But you too, don't blame me for not reminding you. None of them is weaker than me, especially that Chen Aochen. That guy's sword is much stronger than mine." Han Fei was about to ask who Chen Aochen was, but Chao Qiu said, "I suddenly remember that Chen Aochen seems to have left." Wang Zetian frowned. "What about Yi Baiyu?" "He doesn't seem to have left, but Yi Baiyu shouldn't be on the 200th floor." Wang Zetian nodded. "Even so, there are still a lot of people on the 200th floor." Chao Qiu answered fluently, "Don't forget, their internal relationship is not very good. Yang Diu was a troublemaker. He would go wherever there was chaos. Mo Fian is a devil who only knows how to play tricks. Don't be afraid of her. Sun Mu is the same as you. Few people want to play with him. Zhang Mingkuan didn't come, and Zhang Wen didn't come. We have to be careful of Li Hai and Li Baizhou. The others are nothing to worry about." Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were dumbfounded as they listened on the side. Are these all the children of the big clans in the Thousand Star City? Every one of them sounded quite fierce. Besides, in Chao Qiu's words, Sun Mu was a character who was not loved by his grandmother or uncle. But such a fucking character almost killed Han Fei in the sea grassland. How could the others be simple? Han Fei said, "Stop. I'll be frank first. We, the black and white ghosts, only rob people, not kill them. We can fight and rob, but we won't kill people." Xia Xiaochan echoed, "Yes, we are here to hunt for treasures, not to kill people." Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were not stupid. They knew that the people Chao Qiu mentioned must be some big shots. If he killed all these people, God knew what terrible consequences it would cause. Even if he didn't want to deal with people like Sun Mu, Han Fei wouldn't kill them. Even if he wanted to kill them, it was definitely not at this time and place, especially with people like Chao Qiu and Wang Zetian. Wang Zetian snorted coldly. "I don't expect you to kill them. It's still a question whether you can beat them. It's almost impossible to kill them." Chao Qiu said discontentedly, "Why is it impossible?" Wang Zetian glanced at Chao Qiu. "Have the crappy things you invented ever hurt your brother? You can only invent fishing boats, but you can't do anything else." Chao Qiu was so angry that his face turned red. "If I say it's possible, it's possible. You are uneducated. You don't understand. I don't want to explain it to you." Han Fei shrugged. "So, now we have 4 people?" Wang Zetian nodded. "For the time being, let's cooperate." Han Fei glanced at Xia Xiaochan. "When we reach the 200th floor, if it's not necessary, just go invisible and don't show up." Xia Xiaochan asked, "What about you?" Han Fei nodded. "Fight. Even without these 2 guys, after we enter the 200th floor, I'm afraid we will encounter those people from the Thousand Star City. Especially Sun Mu and the others, I think they are probably waiting for me here. In any case, we have to find a way to beat them all out this time." Xia Xiaochan nodded slightly. "That's right. Otherwise, if Xiaobai and Quang come, I'm afraid they won't be able to escape if they encounter so many masters at once." Wang Zetian asked, "What did you say?" Xia Xiaochan rolled her eyes at him. "It's none of your business. It's a secret." Wang Zetian said lightly, "Since we are allies for the time being, don't play tricks. Otherwise, you will have one more enemy in the future." Han Fei sneered. "Do you think I'm afraid of you? It's up to you whether you believe it or not." In this way, there was a new member in Han Fei's team of 3, a cold man who used a 2-handed sword. 7 days later, on the 197th floor, the 4 reunited again. At this moment, Xia Xiaochan had already refined the soul crystal, and the perception range of her spiritual power had reached the upper limit of 500 meters. To a certain extent, Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan's perception range was the same at this moment, 500 meters. Therefore, Han Fei also understood why most people in the level 3 fishery had a small perception range and only the top geniuses had a large perception range. This time, they met. Chao Qiu said solemnly, starting from the 198th floor, there will definitely be many geniuses on each floor. Wang Zitian said, but these people are not our targets. Most of them are heavenly talents from the major sects in the 1,000-star city. Don't kill them. Chapter 447. Han Fei was slightly surprised. The heavenly talents of the major sects have nothing to do with your families? Chao Qiu shook his head. Basically nothing but a little bit. All the major clans have tried to rope in some of the prodigies from the major sects, but their relationship isn't that deep. Han Fei frowned. He didn't know anything about the 1,000-star city, but from what Chao Qiu said, he vaguely knew that there were many big families in the 1,000-star city. The bottom 200 floors of the steps into the sea were almost all reserved by the disciples of the big clans. As for the prodigies from the 36 towns, it was not that there were none, but that there were very few of them. After all, everyone's birth was different. Some people's mothers gave birth to them at the beginning, while some people's mothers gave birth to them at the end. Fortuitous encounters were of no use unless they were extremely good. Who could really come to the level 3 fishery hadn't encountered an opportunity. Han Fei immediately wanted to ask if there was any news about Tangu. However, when the words were about to come out of his mouth, he swallowed them back. He was not in a good situation right now. Apart from anything else, Han Fei's possession of the sea token put him on the opposite side of many children of the big clans in the 1,000-star city. Even though Han Fei felt that Chao Qiu, the little fatty, wouldn't think too much about it, he would never tell his relationship with Tangu to an outsider. Han Fei simply asked indirectly, do the children of the big families go to the so-called major sects to study? Han Fei knew that Tangu had been taken away for intensive training, but he didn't know where. But judging from how Fang Zhe searched everywhere, Han Fei didn't think that a family should be capable of doing that. At this moment, after Chao Qiu mentioned it, he wondered if Tangu had been taken to a so-called major sect. Chao Qiu didn't think there was anything wrong with Han Fei's question. He just thought he was curious, so he said, of course there is. We all have to enter a big sect to study, but it doesn't necessarily have to be in the same big sect. Han Fei frowned. Even those heavenly talents of the major sects can't be killed? Wang Zitian said lightly, it's best not to kill them if you can. No one who could reach the 200th floor was simple. These people have been given all kinds of treasures by the sect, and their life-saving methods are no less than ours. Furthermore, it wasn't like there weren't any teachers in the major sects who were protective of their students. If those unreasonable people really want to go to the lower world to take people away, who in the level 3 fishery can stop them? Han Fei clicked his tongue. That's a pity. However, the slogan of our black and white impermanence is to rob passers-by and not take their lives. It's fine. Wang Zitian glanced at Han Fei. Why do I remember that you just told me that you wanted to rob me and kill me? Oh really? Maybe I said it wrong. The four of them chatted for a while before entering the 198th floor. Han Fei didn't mention Tang Ji's name at all. In fact, he didn't mention Tang Ji's name to Xia Xiaochan and the others, because it was unnecessary. When Han Fei appeared on the 198th floor, he didn't see anyone. This time, he didn't offer the sacrifice immediately. Instead, he started searching aimlessly. Now that they were on the 198th floor, the steps were gradually getting smaller, and the chances of encountering people were higher. Sure enough, as Han Fei expected, after only about dozens of kilometers, he met an armorist and a manipulator. Both of them were wearing blue robes, which seemed to be the same uniform. After seeing Han Fei, the two exchanged a glance and immediately swam towards Han Fei. Han Fei didn't leave but still waited calmly for the two to come over. An intermediate dangling fisher. Senior brother, this person is not simple. The manipulator girl's face changed slightly and she whispered to the armorist next to her. He is not simple, but it doesn't matter. No matter how strong an intermediate dangling fisher is, he can only reach the limit of a peak-level dangling fisher. Even if he is a strong peak-level dangling fisher, the two of us can deal with him. Seeing the two of them coming up to him, Han Fei grinned. Nice to meet you. I just want your money, not your lives. Please hand over your sea-swallowing seashells. The manipulator asked, Senior brother, is this guy stupid? He seems to want to rob us? The armorist put the armor box aside. If you win, your things will be yours. If you lose, your things will belong to us. Han Fei said with a smile, Okay. Which of you will come first? The armorist smiled slightly. We, of course, will come together. As soon as he said that, thousands of golden lights flashed in all directions. Under Han Fei's feet, an array made of black balls appeared. Han Fei's body twisted back and forth in the golden light. The manipulator was dumbfounded by his strange postures. Han Fei wiped the blood-drinking knife on a few golden threads around him. What sharp golden threads! Unfortunately, they are useless to me. As for this array, Han Fei secretly said to the hexagon starfish via voice transmission, Master Hexagon Starfish, it's all yours. Outside the black stone array, 6 purple lights rose, and the hexagon starfish set up another array outside this one. The armorist frowned. Not only did the other party not try to break the ceiling array he set up, but he even set up another array outside? The question was, in this case, why would Han Fei be afraid that they would run away? How damn confident did he have to be to do such a thing? Among the thousands of threads, dense black thorns like pear flowers in a rainstorm spurted out of the armorist's armor box. Hey! Han Fei held the whetstone in his left hand and made it bigger, trying to block it. However, he found that those black thorns had similar characteristics to the million knife art. They circled and chased after Han Fei. Clank, clank, clank. Han Fei put away the whetstone, and the blood-drinking knife was full of knife intent. After one slash, all the golden threads along the way were broken, and a large number of black thorns were chopped away. Not bad. Han Fei frowned slightly. The person who used the black thorns was not weak and was a very special armorist. There seemed to be no swords in his armor box, but all needles, and they were very powerful. However, Han Fei didn't believe that an armorist could have such powerful spiritual power. He was not weak. If he had enough weapons now, it should be easy for him to control 50 blue sea wandering dragon daggers. But once there were more daggers, such as 80 or 100, even Han Fei couldn't control them. And the armorist in front of him could control more than 1,000 black needles. More than 10,000. Therefore, Han Fei was sure that the so-called black needles were not as flexible as they seemed. Han Fei's body was covered with small spots. Although none of the needles could penetrate his body, they were so powerful that they could leave tiny needle holes on his body surface. This had already shown the strength of this armorist. Han Fei suddenly changed direction and went straight to the manipulator. The manipulator was slightly startled and a large number of golden threads swept out. However, Han Fei's speed was a bit fast. If it were an ordinary peak-level dangling fisher, her golden threads could even kill the opponent directly. But not now. Han Fei only needed one slash to cut off all the golden threads. On the other side, the armorist's face changed slightly and he quickly came to the rescue. Just when he grabbed the armor box and was about to arrive, Han Fei grinned and changed direction again. He stepped on the golden threads, swept past the black needles and golden threads, and slashed out. If Xia Xiaochan were here, she wouldn't be surprised. She knew how flexible Han Fei was. They were all born in chaotic battles and had competed with each other before. Han Fei could carry 4 people on his own. His agility was not just for show. If it were a head-on battle like Wang Zitian, Han Fei might not be able to play so fancy. But in this chaotic and intertwined scene, Han Fei's flexibility was vividly displayed. Han Fei needed to twist his body to avoid the golden threads, and the armorist directly asked the manipulator to let him in. What Han Fei wanted was the moment when the golden threads were let go. He used the draw technique and threw out the whetstone as a giant hidden weapon, followed by the embroidery needle. 3 consecutive strikes, the armorist was immediately knocked over and thousands of black needles fell. Chilla. At the last moment, the manipulator pulled the armorist away with the golden threads, and the two of them left the seal formation. Han Fei grinned. So, let's see who can break the formation faster. You two break the formation outside, and I'll break yours. Let the game begin? Senior brother, what should we do? The armorist coughed up a mouthful of blood, his face pale, and one of his hands drooped softly. This guy is so strong. Which sect is he from? Why haven't I seen him before? Senior brother, maybe he is a disciple of a big clan. Impossible. How much practice does he have to go through to use that weird footwork just now? Many of them were extremely dangerous, and they fought with no regard for their lives. How many disciples of big clans do you think are so desperate? Senior brother, do you understand this formation? With that, the manipulator looked at the 6-gate formation. With a wave of her fingers, thousands of golden threads hit countless places of the 6-gate formation, searching for the formation eye, but there was no response at all. On the other hand, Han Fei just walked to a certain stone among the black stones on the ground and smashed it with his rod. The stone cracked and the formation was broken. The hexagon starfish climbed up Han Fei's calf. This formation is simple. This human is not good at formations. Han Fei smiled and looked at the two of them. If I wasn't careful, the formation would break. First, asking for votes, end of this chapter. Chapter 448. The faces of the armorist and the manipulator changed slightly, and they took out a jade pendant and held it in their hands. The armorist sneered. Do you really think you can kill us? Han Fei clicked his tongue. Amulet? Yes, you have more trump cards. I can't beat you, but I can wait. When my people come, they can kill you. You know this is an amulet? Which sect are you from? Han Fei grinned. I'm from the countryside. It's fine. You keep holding it. I'm not in a hurry. With that, Han Fei moved his fingers, took out a bag of air that he had prepared, and took a deep breath. Then he took out a fish skin bag, which was filled with small dried fish. In front of the two of them, he began to chew. Han Fei asked, By the way, is your teacher so stingy? He only gave you 1 amulet each? Let me be frank, if you only have an amulet, I'm afraid it won't work. Do you have an immortal seal? What about a dying strike? The two of them turned green when they heard this. They were a little suspicious about how Han Fei learned the internal secrets of these big families. Even in the big families of the Thousand-Star City, ordinary clansmen didn't even dare to hope to obtain a life-saving means like an immortal seal. Only the outstanding geniuses within the family were qualified to enjoy these things. After all, the relationships of the same family were complicated, and it was impossible to be impartial. They had never heard of this Han Fei in front of them. Since he could defeat the two of them as an intermediate dangling fisher, he was definitely not an ordinary person. There was no reason that they hadn't heard of him. The manipulator girl was a little nervous. She looked at Han Fei and said, If you kill us, your life tablet will shatter, which is not a trivial matter. Han Fei shrugged. I'm not going to kill you. I'll wait for someone who has the ability to kill you. I'm not in a hurry. After half an hour, the two of them seemed to have communicated many times, and when they saw a figure appear in the distance, their faces changed. The armorist said, Here's your sea-swallowing seashell. Unseal it. Han Fei picked up the sea-swallowing seashells that they threw at him and said with a smile, You should have done this a long time ago. After that, he got up and shouted at the man who was flying over, You, come down. You're just a robber. Hand over your sea-swallowing seashell. The armorist and the manipulator's faces all turned green. So, they're not your people? However, after a brief discussion, the two of them decided not to join forces with the person who was coming from afar. The strength that Han Fei had just shown, that terrifying physique, that movement that seemed to be even more agile than an octopus, made them feel powerless. The most important thing was not Han Fei's strength, but his realm. They had seen many intermediate dangling fishers with such terrifying strength. As long as those big shots weren't dead, they were all monstrous existences. Which sect didn't have a few of such big shots? At this moment, they felt that they had encountered such a big shot who had hidden his identity to commit robbery and extortion. Seeing the two of them gradually fade out of sight, Han Fei got up and moved on to the next person. Half a day later, after robbing 12 people in a row, Han Fei unexpectedly met Wang Zetian. The two of them had nothing to say. Han Fei said, "I'm going to continue robbing." Wang Zetian nodded. "I'm going to find Chao Chiu. The two of them met for less than 10 minutes and then left separately. When Han Fei saw Chao Chiu, this guy was being chased and beaten by 5 people. As soon as he saw Han Fei, Chao Chiu immediately wailed, "Big Tong, I finally found you. Big Tong, come and help me." Han Fei was speechless when he saw these 5 people. Oh my God, they were all wearing standard uniforms. He knew these 5 people, and at a glance, he could tell that they were from the same sect. Otherwise, how could their clothes be the same? Han Fei thought he was strong, but to be honest, these people were not weak either, although some of them were only advanced dangling fishers. In this place, a small realm could no longer represent strength. Chao Chiu might be able to resist the soul warrior and manipulator he just met, and Xia Shaochan could teleport away, but it would take Wang Zetian a lot of effort. Han Fei was speechless. "Hey, little fatty, why don't you turn around and fight?" Chao Chiu said, "I can't beat them. These people are too fierce. They want to rob my sea-swallowing seashells." With that said, Chao Chiu turned around and said, "Don't chase them. We are all classmates. Don't be like this." However, the 5 people didn't care about Han Fei at all. Although they knew that Han Fei, as an intermediate dangling fisher, couldn't have come here easily, there were only 2 of them including Han Fei. The problem was that they knew Chao Chiu too well. Although this guy seemed to be wearing dazzling equipment, in fact, his combat power was only 5. Besides, he was a super rich guy. Who else would they chase if not him? Han Fei sighed. "Idiot, I don't expect you to fight. I might as well expect an iron-head fish to crash into a dragon boat." Then Han Fei pointed a kitchen knife at the 5 people and said, "I want money, not life. You 5, leave your sea-swallowing seashells." Where did this idiot come from? Is there something wrong with his brain? Have you been infected by Chao Chiu? Fuck off. However, Han Fei's aura suddenly soared, and he activated the majestic mystic spell, and a terrifying power circulated on Han Fei's body surface. At that moment, Han Fei stood in front of Chao Chiu and didn't dare to use the draw technique. He was afraid that he would cut these people to death. The embroidery needle swept out at such a fast speed that an unparalleled rod shadow appeared. Not good, shield. An armorist slammed down a square shield, and then the 5 people immediately fused with their spiritual beasts. However, they underestimated Han Fei at this moment. As soon as the majestic mystic spell was activated, his strength increased 5-fold. Han Fei was not bragging. Even if Chao Chiu was equipped with top-quality weapons and possessed by the Cloud Dolphin, he could still beat him to death. Let alone these people in front of him who were completely unprepared. Rumble. The ripples vibrated, and an inverted tornado rolled up underwater. The shield wall was smashed by Han Fei's rod. The 5 people were sent flying at the same time. Master Hexagon. When the 6-gate formation rose, the Hexagon starfish complained. The 6-gate formation needs a lot of spiritual energy. I can't use it frequently. I feel that my spiritual energy is drying up. With 5 meat buns in front of him, Han Fei didn't have time to care about such a trivial matter. So he took out 5 or 6 low-quality spiritual stones and threw them to the Hexagon starfish. The Hexagon starfish really wanted to vomit blood. "This is too little." Han Fei scoffed. "Shut up. I got the treasures. Didn't I give you all the shiny ones? You cry to me every day that you are poor." The Hexagon starfish's big eyes kept rolling. Remembering that there were indeed a lot of good-looking stones in the gate, he couldn't help but shut up. He'd better not talk back to Han Fei. Otherwise, Han Fei wouldn't even give him low-quality spiritual stones. How miserable would that be? The 5 teenagers were also stunned. Among the 5 of them, the weakest one was an advanced dangling fisher. They hadn't even used their skills yet. How could they be defeated like this? Suddenly, there were lights and shadows everywhere in the 6-gate formation, and all kinds of dazzling and gorgeous skills burst out, knocking the 6-gate formation with clanging sounds. Han Fei was about to go and clean them up one by one, when he saw a big net falling from the sky and being thrown over. Someone exclaimed, "Not good, it's the spirit forbidden net." "Damn it, I'm calling for help." Poop! A strange sound spread from the bottom of the sea. Immediately afterward, the 5 people lost their temper. Their spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts were cancelled one after another, and their spiritual energy was completely suppressed. Han Fei looked back at Xiao Qiu and said helplessly, "Spirit forbidden net?" Han Fei's eyes narrowed slightly. How could I forget this? If Sun Mu could have the spirit forbidden net, why couldn't Xiao Qiu have it? If Xiao Qiu suddenly used it on me, wouldn't I be at his mercy? Immediately, Han Fei's heart skipped a beat. In the future, no matter what, I can't entrust my back to others. No matter how harmless Xiao Qiu seemed to be, he couldn't help it. Of course, Xiao Qiu didn't think so much at this moment. He arrogantly walked to the edge of the 6-gate formation, looked at the group of people, and said angrily, "How dare you rob me and beat me? I said you would get what you deserve. Look, karma is coming." Han Fei glanced at Xiao Qiu. "Don't talk nonsense. What was that sound just now?" Xiao Qiu suddenly understood. That was a summoning order. Hurry up and rob them, throw them into the steps into the sea, and then run away quickly. Han Fei's face was black. "Don't run. Just wait." Then Han Fei walked into the 6-gate formation rudely. "I want your money, not your life. Hand over your sea-swallowing seashells and I'll let you go." Someone snorted. "You don't dare to kill us." Han Fei sneered. "I don't dare to kill you, but do you think I don't dare to rob you?" With that said, Han Fei began to pull them over one by one. For a moment, there were wails and howls of anger. "Hey, my shoes. Why are you pulling my shoes? Hey, give me back my weapon. You can't use my weapon. Hey, I'm a girl. You can't touch me. Men and women shouldn't touch each other. I don't pull my necklace. My earrings, you bastard, I will find you and beat you to death." Han Fei was taken aback. "You want to beat me? This battle suit is good. I'll take it off." The little girl screamed, Hey, I've given you everything else. What else do you want?" "Hey, rogue, don't pull my clothes." Gulp. Outside the formation, Xiao Qiu broke out in a cold sweat. He immediately regretted showing his ultra-quality battle suit and weapons to Han Fei. If one day Han Fei was unhappy and pulled his clothes off, how miserable would that be? Han Fei was happily picking up other people's sea-swallowing seashells and treasures. Suddenly he felt a familiar aura coming, but he didn't care. However, the next moment he only felt a pain in his ear. Hey, Xiaoshan, let go, let go." Xia Xiaochan's face was black. "Shameless, why are you pulling my battle suit?" Han Fei shrugged. "No, I'm going to get you a battle suit, aren't I?" Xia Xiaochan said angrily, "I already have a battle suit. You just want to peek at it." Han Fei shook his head. "I didn't. I'm innocent." However, the woman in the spirit forbidden net said angrily, "He molested me." Han Fei looked back. "Hey, you have to live with your conscience." Xia Xiaochan shouted, "Get out, I'll search." Suddenly, Xia Xiaochan felt that Han Fei's body stiffened and thought, "Did I hit him too hard?" However, when she looked back, she found that Han Fei was staring at 2 people not far away. Xia Xiaochan wondered, "What's wrong?" Han Fei slowly spat out a mouthful of bubbles, narrowed his eyes slightly, and suddenly a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. "Boltang. We've finally run into each other." Second update. Please vote. End of this chapter. Chapter 449. Han Fei had guessed whether Tangu would also come to the level 3 fishery to gain experience. However, he didn't expect that they would meet in this way under such circumstances. At this time, although Tangu was only a 15-year-old boy, he was 1.8 meters tall. His once young and tender face was now a little more square, with a hint of fortitude. Han Fei couldn't help but wonder if this guy's food was too good. From the looks of it, it was a body of muscles. Although he hadn't developed into a bodybuilder's pectoral muscles, he didn't look like a 15-year-old boy at all. Beside Tangu was a girl of the same age. The girl had a little baby fat, but her eyes were calm at this moment. At this moment, she was adding a set of spiritual clothes to Tangu and herself, and at the same time, she stepped on a speed array. She was actually a spirit gatherer. Besides, according to Han Fei's judgment, judging from the proficiency of this girl who had just stepped on a speed array, her attainments in arrays seemed to be better than his. After all, he couldn't step on a speed array with 1 foot. Tangu, holding a halberd taller than a man and wearing a gilded battle suit, was watching this scene coldly. Chao Chiu, why did you make things difficult for your classmate? When Chao Chiu saw Tangu, he shrank his head. I didn't make things difficult for them. It was those 5 bastards who chased me and tried to rob my sea-swallowing seashell. Only then did we resist. Chao Chiu tried hard to straighten his chest, showing a matter-of-fact look. However, in Han Fei's opinion, he was clearly scared, wasn't he? The girl next to Tangu complained, Chao Chiu, you usually take advantage of your brother and rob a lot of things. You should return some to them. In the spirit forbidden net, the girl shouted, Sister Mu Ling, we didn't want to rob him. It was he who robbed us of a high-quality spiritual weapon. Next to her, a boy echoed, Yes, we just borrowed some resources from him. When we get to the sect, we will definitely borrow some from him. Chao Chiu immediately put his hands on his waist and said to the boy in the spirit forbidden net, Who told you to hit me? If you didn't hit me, how could I rob your spiritual weapon? I don't care about a high-quality spiritual weapon. I can give it back to you. With that, Chao Chiu threw out an ancient sword. However, before the ancient sword flew 10 meters away, a fishing hook extended over. The picture changed, and Han Fei was holding a fishing rod and playing with the ancient sword. I'm just a passerby. Chao Chiu, you can't just throw away the loot you stole. Suddenly, Han Fei received Chao Chiu's voice transmission in his head. Give it to him, give it to him. You have no idea how fierce this Tangu is. In the entire school, he was the only one who dared to hit me in front of my brother. Yes, in front of my sister. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Shut up. You're embarrassing yourself. Tangu looked at Han Fei. For some reason, he felt that Han Fei looked familiar. But judging from their disguises, one was a ferocious ghost, and the other a ghost. They were obviously not good people. Instantly, his expression became even colder. Tangu said coldly, Put it down and get lost. Han Fei was still smiling, but Xia Xiaochan was not afraid of trouble. Her eyes were also cold. Say it again. Tangu repeated expressionlessly, Get lost. I'll stab you to death. Xia Xiaochan was furious. She couldn't stand Tang Ji's expression. She was about to attack, but Han Fei pulled her back. Han Fei secretly said to her, Don't be angry. Don't be angry. He's one of us. Xia Xiaochan was stunned. What do you mean by one of us? I've never seen him. Is he Zhang Xuanyu? Yes, Quang can't be so tall and thin. But Zhang Xuanyu is not so strong. Han Fei spoke to Xia Xiaochan telepathically for a while, and Xia Xiaochan's expression changed several times. She looked at Han Fei in disbelief. Why can't I tell that you are brothers? Han Fei smiled and said, What if I don't put it down? Tangu raised the halberd with one hand and said indifferently, Die. Just when Han Fei was about to say something, he saw another figure dashing over. He took a closer look. Who else could it be but Wang Zitian? Wang Zitian's attention was not on the 5 people tied up by Han Fei, but on Tangu, and at the same time, a strong fighting spirit burst out from him. Tangu said coldly, One is Chao Chiu, one is 2 swords, and 2 are unorthodox. Is there anyone else? Call them out together. Han Fei was speechless. Tangu was a bit arrogant now. Xia Xiaochan and I are so awesome, but he thinks we are unorthodox? Xia Xiaochan also said, your brother seems a bit arrogant? Han Fei responded awkwardly, arrogant? He must be pretending. Xia Xiaochan looked at Han Fei strangely. Are you sure? Han Fei took 2 steps forward and said, Chao Qiuqiu Wang Zitian, you can go to the next floor. Hey, Tangu, do you want to fight one-on-one? Everyone? Chao Qiuqiu said, are you crazy? This guy is the same as my brother. Do you want to fight one-on-one with him? Wang Zitian also said, idiot, do you want to die? The few people trapped in the spirit forbidden net widened their eyes in disbelief. Is there something wrong with this person's brain? Fandotong, right? If you want to fight one-on-one with Tangu, you will be defeated even if there are 2 more of you. The girl who was pulled by Han Fei said angrily, you are dead. Tangu will definitely beat your hat crooked. Han Fei pointed at the girl with a kitchen knife and said, shut up, believe it or not, I will beat your mouth crooked first. The girl's momentum stagnated. Thinking of Han Fei's fierce look just now, she couldn't help but snort. Han Fei said, hey, I'll give you a chance. If you win, these people will belong to you. If you lose, give me your sea-swallowing seashell. Mu Ling, who was standing next to Tangu, couldn't help glancing at Tangu next to her and then at Han Fei. She couldn't help but deactivate the speed array and stood aside with interest. Then she said to Chao Qiuqiu, Qiuqiu, if your sister finds out that you cheated your classmates again, she will definitely punish you. Chao Qiuqiu pouted and said, I didn't cheat my classmates. They cheated me. Seeing the 2 of them chatting next to each other, Tangu responded lightly, okay. Han Fei pouted. Let's go. Find a place where there is no one. However, Tangu didn't move. Right here. Han Fei's heart trembled. Tangu should be afraid that something would happen here after he left. If it were him, he would probably have the same concern. Han Fei smiled and said, okay, then let's do it here. This time, Han Fei put away the blood-drinking knife and the whetstone. In the next second, the spiritual energy under Han Fei's feet burst out and his figure shot out like a sharp arrow. His speed was so fast and fierce that Xia Xiaochan was stunned. However, Xia Xiaochan knew what he was going to do just now. Han Fei was taking this battle very seriously. In fact, Han Fei couldn't help but be a little curious in his heart. How much has Tangu grown now? At the moment when Han Fei jumped out, the seawater where he had been standing directly burst open and bubbles rolled. Wang Zitian was slightly surprised. What a strong force. Tangu just frowned slightly and then waved the halberd with one hand. 3 halos on his arm were pushed to the halberd with great force. Clang, the seawater directly exploded, and the rod and halberd collided, directly colliding into a huge water ball and exploding in all directions. The power of this one strike directly set off layers of waves stacked on top of one another. Except for the people in the 6-gate formation, the others were forced to retreat more than 100 meters away. Mu Ling exclaimed, huh? This guy in black clothes is so strong. Tangu took half a step back and slightly bent his feet. Han Fei also took half a step back, really horrified. He always felt that his growth was already terrifying enough. Who knew that Tangu was not weaker than him at all? Even when he used the embroidery needle, they were only evenly matched in strength. Xia Xiaochan stood on the side holding the rod, tilting her little head, and didn't look surprised at all. When Chao Qiu saw this scene, he immediately straightened his back. Of course. Don't you know who found these allies? Mu Ling rolled her eyes at him. You think you can? Don't tell me you can lead them to the 200th floor? Chao Qiu retorted, why not? They were still watching the battle. Han Fei and Tangu were already locked in a fierce battle. Maybe the news outside said that Han Fei was good at using the million knife art, the 9-star chain, the water-dividing seal, etc. But only Xia Xiaochan knew that at the very beginning, Han Fei had always been a pure soul warrior. In the chaotic battle, he was even more outstanding. At this moment, Han Fei fully activated the shadow swimming art, and the speed of his rod was getting faster and faster. Because of the fierce force, every time the embroidery needle collided with the halberd, a water vortex would burst out. The long rod in Han Fei's hand was like a spear, and he didn't need any help to launch the spiral strike. At this moment, with one stab, he broke through 3 layers of water barriers. Tang Ji's fighting technique was very powerful, and circles of power halos gushed out from the halberd one after another, like countless circles superimposed on the halberd. After 100 moves, Tang Gu put his other hand on the halberd, which made Han Fei's eyes narrow. "Oh my, is it finally going to be real?" Cao Qiu immediately said to Han Fei, "Be careful, this is the strongest halberd technique of the Heavenly Sword sect. With 3 halberds, you can kill dragons and snakes. Don't resist it head-on." The author said, "The surprise I'm talking about is not adding more chapters, but Tang Gu has appeared. When the time comes, I will add chapters." Well, end of this chapter. Chapter 450. Reminded by Cao Qiu, Han Fei didn't dare to be careless. He channeled 2/3 of his spiritual energy into the embroidery needle and waved the long rod as if it was flying. Rumble, Han Fei felt that he had smashed into a meteorite falling from the sky. Whether in speed or strength, it was not weaker than him at all. Han Fei was swept 70 or 80 meters away by the halberd, and his hand was torn. Cao Qiu said in surprise, "I caught it! I caught it!" Wang Zetian was lost in thought. How could he catch it? How strong was Han Fei's physique? For Han Fei, this result was beyond his expectation. His blow, which contained nearly 70% of his spiritual energy, was completely suppressed? The best halberd technique? Tiske, the big sects are really different. I'm afraid you can't find a combat skill of this level in the library of the Thug Academy. A hint of interest flashed in Tang Ji's eyes. Not bad, you are very strong in both strength and speed. Han Fei shook his arms and chuckled. You are not bad either. Tang Ji's face changed slightly, and dozens of red flowing lines spread out on his arms. Then use all your strength. Let's see if you are qualified to keep the people of my Heavenly Sword sect here. Seeing that Han Fei's physique was abnormally strong, Tang Gu didn't seem to want to fight anymore. After all, if he couldn't completely defeat Han Fei with 3 halberds, he would be exhausted. In this case, he decided to use his strongest move directly. Dragon Soul Overlord Body. Beside Tang Gu, waves surged like a roll. Behind the layers of seawater, there seemed to be a huge phantom of an azure dragon emerging. And Tang Ji's muscles also swelled up. The momentum gave Han Fei the feeling that he had directly surpassed the level of a peak-level dangling fisher and was about to reach the level of a hanging fisher. Han Fei's face changed slightly. White Dragon Feather Lobster, Tang Ji's spiritual beast, legendary. It was hard to say what was the difference between the legendary and the mysterious level. But judging from the 9-star chain of the 9-tailed mantis shrimp and the heavenly thunderstrike of little gold, it seemed that all the creatures at this level had their own advantages. The power that Tang Ji's White Dragon Feather Lobster gave him seemed to be more like a secret method, unlike the supreme yin-yang wheel of Little Black and Little White, which increased their own combat power. Majestic Mystic Spell. Han Fei grinned, and billowing energy flowed on the surface of his body. The powerful impact of the energy made his body slightly red. Fight. Kill. In an instant, the two of them turned into 2 afterimages, flashing and moving in the water. Clang, clang, clang. When the rod and halberd collided, they only created a whirlpool of water. Then, at this moment, when their powers collided, the weapons bounced off, and the waves turned into incomparably tyrannical water pillars. Cao Qiu, who was cheering in the front, was knocked down by a water column and sent flying dozens of meters away. Wow, he's so strong. Wang Zetian's eyes were full of fighting spirit, but no one knew who it was. When he fought with Han Fei before, he still felt that Han Fei was a cunning and sneaky type. However, at this moment, he had already regarded Han Fei as an extremely powerful opponent. At least, he hadn't seen many people who could compete with Tang Gu in terms of strength. Mu Ling knew Tang Gu very well. At this moment, she watched Han Fei's figure moving in the water. that chaotic battle and dodging technique, that strange and astonishing range of his body, that ability to dodge by a hair's breadth, all of it shocked her. Both Mu Ling and Xia Xiaochan seemed to be slightly surprised. These two people seemed to be a bit similar in terms of body movements. Xia Xiaochan noticed this because Han Fei had just secretly told her about it. But Mu Ling noticed this completely because she knew Tang Gu well. On the contrary, in the Six-Gate Formation and the Spirit Forbidden Net, the five people widened their eyes in shock. Gulp. Someone gritted his teeth. This person tied with Tang Ji's Dragon Soul Overlord body? The little girl was dumbfounded. How is it possible? In the battle, Tang Gu felt that something was wrong. Han Fei's body movement was even more flexible than his. That weird and inhuman dodging posture, that body that was still absorbing spiritual energy from the outside world in the battle, always gave him a very familiar feeling. At this moment, Han Fei stuck close to the halberd, his body almost parallel to the ground, seemed to narrowly avoid Tang Ji's attack, and circled to Tang Ji's back. The embroidery needle stabbed back. Without looking back, Tang Gu turned the halberd from his right hand to his left hand, blocked it backhandedly, and at the same time, hit back with his right elbow. Once again, the two of them were knocked back. However, after Han Fei used the majestic mystic spell, he didn't use his full strength. According to his calculation, Tang Ji's Dragon Soul Overlord body directly pushed his strength more than twice, less than 3 times. Tang Gu frowned slightly. You seem to be holding back. Han Fei grinned. Why do you think so? Tang Ji's face was still cold. Up to now, you haven't used the power of your spiritual beast, nor have you attached a contractual spiritual beast to your body. Han Fei asked, didn't you use it too? Tang Gu shook his head. I used the power of my spiritual beast, and you seem to have used some kind of secret method. If we continue to fight, my strength will disappear in a moment, and you. Secret methods can't be endless. The energy in your body seems to be consumed violently. I don't think you can hold on for long. Han Fei smiled and suddenly said in a one-way voice transmission, not bad. It seems that you haven't stayed in the Thousand-Star City for nothing in the past 2 years. Both your strength and eyesight have improved a lot. What? I've used the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing for so long. Don't you feel it? Han Fei? Tang Ji's eyes widened and the water around him surged. His eyes were full of disbelief. Han Fei hurriedly said to him, don't get excited. Don't expose yourself. I'm now disguised as Fan Datong, and I'm playing a heinous bad guy. Let the people of your sect go out first. Tang Gu thought of something. Although he was extremely excited, he still suppressed this mood. He had wanted to find an opportunity to go to the Heavenly Water Village more than once. However, since he entered the Thousand-Star City, he had been in various trials. This time he came to the Level 3 fishery. He planned to find a dragon boat and go to the Heavenly Water Village after leaving the steps into the sea. However, he didn't expect to meet Han Fei here, on the 198th floor of the steps into the sea. Besides, after the battle just now, he found that Han Fei's strength was so terrifying. Even with the Dragon Soul Overlord body, he couldn't defeat Han Fei. Han Fei suddenly smiled and said, hey, you're strong, but if you keep fighting like this, you'll only have a 50% chance of winning. I'll let your people go. But they have to leave the steps into the sea. Tang Gu pretended to be silent for a few seconds. But Han Fei said, Master Hexagon, come back. The Six-Gate Formation disappeared. Cao Qiu was surprised. Fandong, you really let them go? Before Han Fei spoke, Mu Ling next to Cao Qiu put a hand on his head. Otherwise, do you want to kill your fellow disciples? Cao Qiu snorted, put away the spirit-gathering network, and muttered, I'm not familiar with them. As soon as the 5 people came out, as soon as their strength recovered, they put on a fighting posture, fused with their spiritual beasts, and attached with their contractual spiritual beasts. This time, they didn't dare to hold back at all. However, Tang Gu waved his halberd. Get out. Tang Gu. Boss Tang, this man is too much. How can we let him go? Tang. Tang Gu glanced at them and the 5 people were immediately discouraged. They glared at Han Fei hatefully, and then their bodies gradually faded away. Han Fei looked at Chao Qiu. You go to the next floor first. Wang Zitian frowned. Do you still want to fight? Han Fei twitched the corner of his mouth and said, Why, do you still want to watch? Wang Zitian snorted, and his body faded away and disappeared. Chao Qiu looked around. Still fighting? Isn't it all over? Tanggu glanced at Chao Qiu coldly. Go down. Chao Qiu shrank his body, pouted, and looked at Han Fei. Then finish it quickly. If you can't win, go down. We still have a lot of things to do. With that, Chao Qiu's body also began to fade. Xia Xiaochang glanced at Mu Ling. Hey, let's go. Mu Ling frowned and asked, What are you going to do? Tanggu shook his head slightly. I have some ideas about cultivation that need to be confirmed. Mu Ling said, This person is very dangerous. He is not weak. Tanggu shook his head lightly. It doesn't matter. Xia Xiaochang glanced at Han Fei. This floor is almost cleaned up. But there should be more people. Be careful. Han Fei smiled faintly. Don't worry. With that, Han Fei pulled Master Hexagon off his body and threw it to Xia Xiaochang. Let it follow you. Xia Xiaochang glanced at it in disgust. You can only hang on my shoulder, not my leg. Hexagon Starfish. After Xia Xiaochang and Mu Ling left, Han Fei's face was twisting, and some energy and spiritual energy were dissipating. Seeing Han Fei's face, Tanggu, who had been keeping a straight face, suddenly grinned and the corners of his mouth became wider and wider. The two looked at each other and gave each other a big hug. Tanggu smiled innocently. Brat, I never thought I would meet you here. What's going on with you now? How did you become an intermediate dangling fisher in the blink of an eye? Also, didn't Feng Zhe give you the spirit-gathering art? How did you become a soul warrior? And why did you pretend to be this Fan Dadong? What an ugly name. Who gave it to you? What happened to Li Ju after I left? Tell me. Han Fei punched Tanggu in the chest. Little girl? As soon as we met, you couldn't stop talking. You have to let me tell you slowly. Tanggu smiled foolishly again. Yes, no hurry. Take your time. First update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Cell phone website. Chapter 451. Just like this, the two sat on the ground on the steps into the sea. Han Fei talked about his experience in the past 2 years. There were ups and downs, but there were also great opportunities. Tang Ji's face changed from joy to anger. For example, when he heard that Li Ju had recovered quickly, his face changed at that time. Of course, the story Han Fei told had to be half true and half false. He took it for granted. For example, the venerable who taught him the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing appeared again. Seeing that he was doing well, he also gave him the full set of the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies. Another example was that old Jiang in the plantation was a hidden peerless master. There was no need for Han Fei to hide these things at all. Then, with old Jiang, Han Fei naturally became a student of the 4th Academy of the Blue Sea Town. In Tang Ji's opinion, the next 2 years might be the happiest period of Han Fei's life. The teachers in the school were so good, the students were so awesome, and the experience was so strict. As for strength, Han Fei tested it as a wasted spiritual heritage. In fact, this was not the case. This was actually an extremely rare growth-type spirit vein. Hearing this, Tanggu was stunned. A growth spiritual heritage? This was definitely a rare super spiritual heritage. Immediately, Tanggu said excitedly, Good. Wait for me. When I go back this time, I will go to my master. With your talent, there is absolutely no problem for you to enter the Heavenly Sword sect. Han Fei interrupted directly, Come on. I won't go. My Thug Academy is no worse than your Heavenly Sword sect. Tanggu wondered, Is the Thug Academy really so strong? Han Fei nodded matter-of-factly. Of course, I'm not bragging. Last time, I killed a member of the Sun family in the Thousand Star City. Then, his father specially came to the level 2 fishery from the Thousand Star City to kill me. Tanggu was furious. Really? Bastard, the Sun family, right? I'll remember it. Han Fei was amused. Why do you have to remember that? That guy was so strong, even stronger than a hidden fisher. But what happened? He was slapped away by our principal. Tang Ji's eyes widened. Really? Even stronger than a hidden fisher? That was already the realm of a law enforcement officer. A law enforcer was a high-ranking official who maintained the law and order of a region. In that case, your principal is actually a reclusive law enforcement officer? Even in the Thousand-Star City, there aren't many of them. Han Fei was slightly taken aback. In this case, Old Bai was probably really a very powerful person. However, Han Fei said casually, "Don't worry. I'm doing well in the Thug Academy. Look, they aren't inferior to your Heavenly Sword sect, right? In the future, I'll go to the Thousand-Star City if I have the chance. Right, let's not talk about this. How are you? What did you experience after you were taken away by Feng Zhe?" Tang Gu chuckled. "What can I do? Feng Zhe is actually a disciple of the Heavenly Sword sect who is traveling in the outside world, and he can be considered as my senior brother. After I went to the Thousand-Star City, he took me to be his disciple. After that, he spent his time in secret realms and battles. I came to the level 3 fishery this time because I became an advanced dangling fisher and was released. It was said that I would not be released until I became a peak-level dangling fisher. Fortunately, my junior sister coaxed and pestered my master, so I was released in advance." Han Fei nudged Tang Gu with his shoulder and said sneakily, "Is it that girl just now? Are you in love?" "No," Han Fei smiled cunningly. "What are you afraid of? I think she's not bad. She's a spirit gatherer. She should be very good at arrays and can teach Chao Chiu a lesson. She should come from a rich family. It's not a loss to marry her. I have high hopes for you." Tang Gu blushed. "Oh, it was just my junior sister." Han Fei patted Tang Ji's shoulder with one hand. Yes, it is. "Ling, look how intimate you are. It seems that this matter is settled. A man has to find a girlfriend." Tang Gu shrugged awkwardly. "By the way, the one in white just now," Han Fei grinned. "My little wife. It's not that I'm bragging, but I teach her a lesson every day. She's so obedient now." "Tang Gu? Then just now, you seem to be pulled by the ear." Han Fei blushed slightly. "You don't understand. This is called fun. When your relationship with Miss Ling goes further, you will understand. Do you want me to teach you some of my experience? Let me tell you." Blah blah. More than an hour later, Han Fei and Tang Gu still felt the same as when they were in the Heavenly Water Village, and they didn't feel estranged at all. This was also because of their strength. The two bragged for a long time, and Tang Gu smiled in surprise. "Han Fei, you seem to have changed a lot and become more cheerful." Han Fei smiled slightly. "Of course, since I know that my spiritual heritage is a growth spiritual heritage, of course I don't feel any pressure anymore. Let's stop talking about this. Are there many people from your Heavenly Sword sect on the 199th floor?" Tang Gu was taken aback. "Not too many. This time, there are not many people from the Heavenly Sword sect. There are some on the next floor, but victory and defeat are common in battles in the fishery. However, you'd better not kill them, or there will be many unknown consequences." Han Fei nodded lightly. "I see. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing." Tang Gu changed the topic at this moment. "So, the Sun family has actually been hunting you?" Han Fei nodded. "Yes. I was a little defeated before. However, after the sea grassland, it won't be so easy for them to kill me again." Tang Gu nodded slightly. "Some time ago, I saw Sun Mu and the others go to the lower floor. At this moment, they should be on the 200th or 201st floor. Let's go. If they dare to hurt my brother, I will go with you to deal with them." Han Fei grabbed Tang Gu and said, "Wait a minute, don't worry about me and Sun Mu. They can't do anything to me, and I know what I'm doing." Tang Gu immediately shook his head. "How can I ignore them? There are at least dozens of times more people on the 200th floor than on the 198th floor. Most of the people who can continue to go down are concentrated there. No matter how strong you are now, how many people can you beat with the secret method just now? Han Fei shook his head and said, "Are the disciples of the big sects in the Thousand-Star City all on the same side? Don't worry, I will take action according to the situation. But you can't be exposed." Tang Gu said coldly, "Do you think I will watch you fight alone and stay out of it?" Han Fei smiled bitterly. "I'm not alone. I still have Xia Shaochuan. Besides, isn't that Wang Zitian also my teammate?" Tang Gu still shook his head. "Wang Zitian is not weak, but none of Sun Mu's people are weak. Wang Zitian may be able to deal with one of them one-on-one, but he will definitely lose one-on-two. As for Chao Qiuqiu, he has no combat experience. It was fine for him to invent and create some gadgets. But you want him to fight with others? I think we should call it that." Han Fei bared his teeth. He had noticed this a long time ago. Although Chao Qiuqiu's equipment was luxurious, his strength was almost negligible. Han Fei pondered for a moment and asked, "Can Mu Ling be absolutely trusted?" Tang Gu paused for a moment and then nodded with certainty. "Yes." Han Fei nodded. "Okay. If you really want to join my side to fight, you must not be the current you." With that, Han Fei threw a jade slip to Tang Gu. "This is the Thousand Faces technique, a demon-level, divine-quality disguise technique, which I accidentally obtained in a secret realm. Don't take action if you can. If you have to take action in the future, learn it first. If you can absolutely trust Mu Ling, give this jade slip to her." Demon-level, divine quality? Tang Gu was shocked. A demon-level, high-quality combat skill was already very rare. It could be said that in a place like the town, it was hard to find a demon-level high-quality combat skill, let alone a divine-quality one. There were many demon-level high-quality combat skills in the Thousand-Star City. However, when it came to divine quality, this was unheard of. But Tang Gu shook his head slightly and said, "It's useless even if I use the disguise technique. My fighting style will be easily recognized." Han Fei thought about it and realized that it did make sense. Not everyone had so many ultra-quality combat skills like him. Right? Han Fei took out another jade slip. This is the 108 Spirit-Absorbing War Bodies, an upgraded version of the incomplete monograph on 108 ways of body polishing. Take it. Tang Ji's face changed slightly and he hurriedly refused. "No, absolutely not. I can't take what the Venerable gave you. I can learn the incomplete version, but if I learn the whole version, I may annoy the Venerable. At that time, he may expel you." Han Fei pushed Brother Tang's hand away. "Just take it. The Venerable didn't accept me as a disciple. He didn't care much about this combat skill. In fact, this is not much different from the incomplete version. It just makes the physique combat skill a little more perfect and can absorb spiritual energy in battle. So, it's nothing special. You'll know when you learn it." Tang Gu hesitated. "But, no buts. We are brothers. How can I argue with you about this? Didn't I drink all your swallowed spirit soup back then?" "That's different. That's just swallowed spirit soup." Han Fei shook his head. "No, it's very important. If it weren't for the swallowed spirit soup, who knows if I would have become who I am now." Second update. Asking for votes. End of this chapter. Cell phone website. Chapter 452. In fact, Han Fei didn't have anything more to give Tang Gu. Perhaps because the indestructible body was too powerful, even though the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies was a demon-level divine quality combat skill, Han Fei didn't feel its power. After all the limelight was stolen by the indestructible body. As for the Thousand Faces technique, it was just a disguise technique. From a practical point of view, it was actually more commonly used than the 108 spirit-absorbing war bodies. Although it didn't help with the improvement of strength. With this thing, a person's survivability could be improved many times. As the saying went, no one knew what would happen in the future. Even though Tang Gu looked powerful now and could intimidate his classmates with a glance, no one was invincible. However, no one was invincible and it might come in handy in the future. Han Fei couldn't catch up with Tangu for too long. As Chao Chiu said, on these floors, the lower they went, the more difficult it was and the more people there were. It was actually not easy to clean them up completely, especially on the 200th floor. To be honest, Han Fei was thinking, should I expose my true identity? After all, without the nine-tailed mantis shrimp and little gold, his strength was actually reduced. At this moment, fortunately, Han Fei had the majestic mystic spell to support him. As Tangu said, the majestic mystic spell consumed a lot of energy. From the previous hot pot meal until now, the energy dissipated, and there was not much left. If he wanted to use it again, he would have to eat spiritual fruits or have a big meal. At this moment, Han Fei said, "Let's go down. See you on the 200th floor. I should be able to deal with the 199th floor by myself." Tangu asked, "Are you going to continue robbing them?" Han Fei grinned. "Of course. I came to the steps into the sea this time to look for opportunities, not to fight with Chao Chiu against the children of the big clans. If I can rob them, it's okay, but if I can't, of course, I won't fight them stupidly. I will go directly to the 201st floor." Tangu nodded solemnly. "Okay." However, it is said that the difficulty of the 201st floor will soar. Some people say that it is very, very difficult. Even Chao Chiu's brother, who had experienced the steps into the sea many times, only made it to the 208th floor last time. But my master told me that it's actually not as difficult as I thought. He also said that if it was me, I might even be able to clear the 250th floor. Han Fei's eyes flickered, and he kept it in mind. "I know. All right, don't be so wishy-washy, go down." As Tang Jiyi's body faded, Han Fei didn't go to the 199th floor immediately. Instead, he flashed into Forge the Universe. With Xia Xiaochan's ability, she was probably the only one who could beat others on the 199th floor. Besides, Master Hexagon Starfish's six-gate formation was still there. It was impossible for an ordinary person to hurt her. In Forge the Universe, Han Fei spent more than half an hour cooking for himself. After all, he had consumed too much energy just now. Half an hour later, when Han Fei appeared on the 199th floor, he didn't see anyone else. However, the seawater was shaking, and the source was not the same. It seemed that there was a battle going on in multiple places. Han Fei chose to go to the place closest to him. When he arrived, he found that Wang Zitian was fighting 3 disciples of the major sects alone. However, this time the disciples of the major sects didn't seem to be from the Heavenly Sword sect, because their uniforms were different. And among these people, some used hammers, and some used armor boxes. At this moment, Wang Zitian didn't seem to be at a disadvantage. However, this battle seemed to have lasted for a long time. Both sides seemed to have consumed a lot of spiritual energy, and no one gained the upper hand. Seeing that Han Fei had arrived, Wang Zitian breathed a sigh of relief. "Help me." When the 3 people on the opposite side saw that Wang Zitian and Han Fei knew each other, their faces changed slightly. "Retreat." However, neither Wang Zitian nor Han Fei would give them a chance to retreat. Wang Zitian brandished his sword, and the sword chi swirled around him. Han Fei took the opportunity to attack. The embroidery needle slashed the seawater backward, and spiritual energy burst out. The 3 of them were in a stalemate. At this moment, Han Fei, who was even more powerful than Wang Zitian, joined the battle. In less than 2 minutes, he was knocked to the ground by Han Fei. Han Fei held the whetstone in his left hand and the embroidery needle in his right hand, shouting, "I'm here to rob you, not to kill you. Hand over your sea-swallowing seashells." Hearing Han Fei's words, Wang Zitian couldn't help but glance to the side, thinking to himself, "This man is so shameless. Why does he look like he's proud of himself for robbing others?" "Wang Zitian, and this guy in black will remember you." Han Fei smiled faintly. "Please remember me. I really hope to rob you again." Wang Zitian put away his sword and looked at Han Fei. Who won? What Wang Zitian cared about was the battle between Han Fei and Tangu. Of course, he didn't know that Han Fei and Tangu were brothers and they were just catching up. So, this guy was still full of expectations. Han Fei smiled slightly. I didn't lose or win. That Tengu is really strong. Huh. You actually tied with Tango? Han Fei shrugged. You don't believe me? Humph. Wang Zitian snorted. I'm going to find Chao Chiuchiu. With that, Wang Zitian slipped away. To tell the truth, it was not that he didn't believe it, but he was already shocked. Those who hadn't fought with Tangu didn't know how terrifying that guy was. Once he had a good time, he could even go berserk. At his peak, he couldn't even catch a single halberd strike from him. His strength could be imagined. But at this moment, this temporary comrade actually tied with Tango? What did this mean? This guy hid his strength too well. It was definitely more than what he had shown now. Wang Zitian left, and Han Fei naturally wouldn't stay either. He immediately swam to the next battlefield. However, this time, Han Fei still didn't see Xia Shaochan. This seemed to be a battle between the disciples of two major sections. In total, there were a total of 9 people fighting. One side had 5 people, and the other side had 4 people. Since everyone's strength was about the same, the side with 5 people obviously had an advantage. And on the side of 4 people, 3 people had been injured and were just struggling at this moment. When Han Fei arrived, the 4 people immediately shouted, "Brother, help us fight. If we win, their sea-swallowing seashells will belong to you." And on the side of the 5 people, someone said, "Brother, don't make a mistake." Han Fei smiled faintly. Make a mistake? Hey, let me help you. As soon as Han Fei took action, he slashed down with a brick. The blood-drinking knife emitted a cold knife light, and the first slash injured a person and broke the person's high-quality spiritual weapon. The 5 people's faces changed drastically. Asshole, which sect are you from? Han Fei said, I am from the chief disciple of the sect you've never thought of. My name is Fan Datong, and this is the first time I've come out. Please enlighten me. Han Fei didn't care about bragging at all. If you don't have a sect, I'll make up one. If you don't have an identity, I'll make it up again. Anyway, when you know who I am, you won't be able to find me. Chief disciple? You want to be the chief disciple? Some hunters disdained him and rushed forward stealthily. As a result, he was knocked to the ground by Han Fei's rod in the blink of an eye. You're shameless. You used a knife. Han Fei was speechless. Are you stupid? I use both knives and sticks, but do I need to tell you? Are you out of your mind? Seeing that Han Fei had injured one and killed one, the 4 people who were at a disadvantage immediately fought back. After half an hour, the 5 people were all knocked to the ground, and they reluctantly handed over their sea-swallowing seashells. Because 3 of these 4 people were seriously injured, and seeing that Han Fei was extremely strong, they didn't break their promise to Han Fei and really gave all 5 sea-swallowing seashells to Han Fei. This scene stunned Han Fei. Damn, this is the first time in the level 3 fishery, isn't it? He thought these people wouldn't give them to him. At that time, he could teach these 4 people a lesson. But they gave them to him. What could he do? Brother, we will never break our promise to you. Han Fei silently took the sea-swallowing seashells, suddenly raised his head, and looked at these people. Is this the first time you've come to the level 3 fishery? They paused for a moment and then nodded. Yes, it's the first time I left the sect and I came directly to the steps into the sea. Didn't you? Han Fei. Suddenly, Han Fei said, Then do you want me to help you understand the rules of the level 3 fishery? A girl asked curiously, What are the rules of the level 3 fishery? Han Fei said lightly, Don't trust strangers. So, hand over your sea-swallowing seashells, okay? Everyone? After a while, the 4 people lay on the ground. The girl shouted in grief and indignation, You're shameless. Han Fei tilted his head. How can I be shameless? Learn from your mistakes. I'm teaching you. Don't kill me. I am the black ghost of the black and white ghosts, and my name is Fandom. You will thank me in the future, because others won't spare your lives. Chapter 453. Less than an hour after entering the 199th floor, Han Fei got 12 sea-swallowing seashells. He had to admit that the people from the big sects were really of different levels. Since the 197th floor, the sea-swallowing seashells that Han Fei got in the worst condition could be sacrificed twice on the 199th floor. Among the 12 sea-swallowing seashells that he got just now, Han Fei actually found 3 soul crystals. Han Fei immediately absorbed them, and after a few minutes, all 3 soul crystals disappeared. When Han Fei opened his eyes, the look in his eyes was very strange. He remembered the 8th, 9th, and 10th pieces of the God-scaring painting. However, this time, Han Fei found that his perception range didn't increase at all. Suddenly, Han Fei felt that he seemed to have discovered a big secret. He felt that if he continued to absorb soul crystals, he might be different from others. Others relied on soul crystals to improve their perception range, but he was different. He cultivated with the God-scaring painting. Unfortunately, Han Fei had no soul crystals in his hands, so he couldn't confirm his conjecture, so he could only continue to rob. After half an hour, Han Fei found another battlefield. This time, it was not people fighting against people, but people fighting against the summoned sea creatures. After robbing, Han Fei didn't find any soul crystals, so he continued to rush to the next battlefield. After sweeping through 5 or 6 people in a row, Han Fei didn't see Xia Shaochan or Tangu. However, he managed to snatch another soul crystal. This time, Han Fei sat on the ground and immediately absorbed the soul crystal. However, the problem this time didn't become simple. In his mind, the God-scaring painting was still complicated, full of lines, and beautiful. However, when Han Fei tried to remember the 11th small picture, the sense of clarity only existed for a short while. When the soul crystals were consumed, he had no impression of the 11th small picture at all, and his mind was in a blur. I didn't remember the picture, but why hasn't my perception range increased at all? Han Fei frowned. It shouldn't be like this. As Chao Qiu said, after reaching 500 meters, he needed 10 times the number of soul crystals to expand his perception range by another 50 meters. Even if that's true, I should be able to expand by 5 meters after using a soul crystal, right? But no, not even 0.01 meters. On the contrary, Han Fei seemed to have hit a bottleneck. Could it be that soul energy is also divided into different realms? Without the soul crystals, Han Fei couldn't speculate. He was about to continue robbing when he saw Xia Shaochan swimming over with Chao Qiu. Han Fei. Han Fei looked at Chao Qiu in shock and asked in surprise, What's wrong? Xia Shaochan snorted. What can I do? This guy was completely useless. I couldn't beat them at the front, and I couldn't handle them alone, so I ran away with him. Han Fei couldn't help but smile. I can't beat them. Are there many people ahead? Xia Shaochan nodded. Quote, there are suddenly a lot more people on this floor. Those 12 people seem to have come from the same place. I can't beat him alone. This guy is like a turtle shell, he won't budge. Chao Qiu complained, I can't beat them either. I told you to run. Xia Shaochan glared at Chao Qiu angrily. Run. All you know is to run. Since I first met you, you have been running away. You haven't had a serious fight. Chao Qiu stretched his neck and said, I can't beat them and they can't break my defense. I have to save my ultimate skill for the 200th floor. If I use it now, I won't have any more ultimate skills. Han Fei chuckled. Do you still have any ultimate skills? Chao Qiu nodded. Of course. Although I am a little weaker than you in battle, you don't have to rely on brute force to beat people. Han Fei was speechless. Are you going to blow up the 200th floor? Chao Qiu rolled his eyes. How is that possible? How can I do that kind of uncreative thing? I do want to blow it up, but how can I blow up such a big place? Han Fei's face darkened. Fine, I don't care what ultimate skills you have, but there are 12 people. It seems that I still have to use the majestic mystic spell. Han Fei felt that he'd better keep his energy. On the bottom of the sea, there might not be so many opportunities to cook. Han Fei looked at Xia Shaochan. Do you still want more spiritual fruits? Xia Shaochan shook her head. No, I have enough. Chao Chiu said excitedly, are we going back now? Han Fei glanced at Chao Chiu contemptuously. Go back? There are 12 people on the other side, and they are not ordinary. Which one of them is not stronger than an ordinary peak-level dangling fisher? Why do you want us to go alone? Chao Chiu's mouth trembled. Of course. You can even tie with Tangu. What's the big deal about fighting 12 people? You know, guys at my brother's level and Tang Ji's level have all fought against 100 people alone. No, wait a minute, Han Fei swallowed. What did you say? Xia Shaochan also didn't believe it. How is it possible to fight 100 people alone? No matter how strong he is, can he challenge 100 strong people of the same level? Chao Chiu raised his head and said, not the same level, but a higher level. Impossible. Han Fei and Xia Shaochan were stunned. A higher level challenge and 100 people alone? Are you fucking kidding me? Chao Chiu put his hands behind his back. Why is it impossible? They have done it. It was to throw them into a secret realm with a circumference of at most 1,000 miles, and have 100 people surround and hunt one person. So far, 101 people have completed it in the past 100 years. The 100th is my brother, and the 101st is Tangu. What do you think? Han Fei and Xia Shaochan breathed a sigh of relief at the same time. Xia Shaochan rolled her eyes. Next time you speak, make it clear to me. I thought it was a one-on-one fight. I was scared to death. Han Fei shook his head slightly. It's not that simple. Don't forget, it's 100 people hunting one person. Maybe the people hunting will be separated, but they will definitely be in groups of 3 or 5, or even more. Chao Chiu nodded. Yes, but it's still very powerful. I think you can do it too, because there are 2 of you. Han Fei, Xia Shaochan. Xia Shaochan couldn't help but show a trace of hope and looked at Han Fei. Why don't we have a try? Han Fei rolled his eyes. Try what? Let me tell you a truth today. If you can fight one-on-one, don't fight as a group. If you can fight as a group, don't fight one-on-one. Xia Shaochan asked, but can't Brother Tang and the others do it? Han Fei was speechless. Just because they can do it doesn't mean they have to do it. It's a trial. Of course they can do it. We're not in a trial now. If we're going to be beaten to death, Old Bai won't show up as soon as a rock is crushed. Han Fei kicked Chao Chiu's butt. Go be the bait. Lure a few people over first. Han Fei smiled. Do you think I'll trick you? After Han Fei explained the strategy, Chao Chiu also understood it. However, he was still a little scared. In the end, he was kicked away by Han Fei. In fact, Chao Chiu didn't need to be the bait at all. Xia Shaochan and Chao Chiu were chased by the other party. It was just that Xia Shaochan ran fast and got rid of the other party. Therefore, as soon as Chao Chiu showed up, those people rushed over. Seeing this, Chao Chiu hurriedly ran away, and while running he said, Hey, it's me. I'm Chao Chiu. Why are you chasing me? We are chasing you. Chao Chiu ran away. I didn't defend you. Why are you chasing me? Someone said angrily, You are an accomplice. Just now, that girl robbed 2 of our teams. Chao Chiu, don't you have any explanation? Chao Chiu yelled, This is a trial. You are not strong enough, so you were robbed. What does it have to do with me? Humph, that's why we're going to kidnap you as well, lest you continue to be muddle-headed and hang out with strange people every day. As Chao Chiu ran, he saw Xia Shaochan sitting cross-legged on the ground, and he shouted, Xia Xiaoan, help. Xia Shaochan opened her eyes, looked back, pretended to panic, and immediately ran hundreds of meters away. However, after running hundreds of meters, she turned back and rushed towards Chao Chiu. Behind her, those who were chasing Chao Chiu were overjoyed, and someone sighed. I didn't expect that woman to be so kind. For this reason, I won't kill her. At this moment, in the distant sea, a vague figure seemed to be swimming over. However, seeing so many people here, he stopped. Of course, these 12 people didn't panic at all. Whether that person was just passing by or not, there were only 3 of them anyway. As for combat power, there were only 2 of them. Chao Chiu didn't count. Xia Xiaochan picked up Chao Qiu and ran not far away. When these 12 people ran to the place where Xia Xiaochan was just now, they saw 6 beams of light suddenly rising from the ground. These people's reaction was very fast. Some accelerated instantly, and some left the team, so that the 6-gate formation of Master Hexagon only trapped 5 people. Damn, it's a trap. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. At the moment when these people fell into the trap, Xia Xiaochan threw Chao Qiu into the 6-gate formation like throwing a ball. Chao Qiu attached himself to the cloud dolphin, asked the poisonous bubble fish to spit bubbles, and then threw a spirit-forbidden net directly into the 6-gate formation. On the other side, at the moment when the 6-gate formation rose, Han Fei had already sped up and rushed over. Xia Xiaochan smiled slyly. Humph, a bunch of idiots, take this. Chapter 454. Han Fei was not far away from here. When he arrived, Xia Xiaochan had already rushed up to him. Under normal circumstances, Xia Xiaochan wouldn't be able to beat them. After all, she couldn't use any of her hunter's abilities. It was a bit difficult for her to pretend to be a soul warrior. However, with the majestic mystic spell, even if Xia Xiaochan waved an ordinary bamboo stick, she wouldn't necessarily be weaker than any of these people in front of her. Besides, although Xia Xiaochan couldn't use any of the hunter's abilities, her speed and reaction ability were not comparable to that of ordinary soul warriors. Even in the Thousand-Star City, this heaven-level combat skill, the roaming art, was extremely rare. In the level 3 fishery, there were only 1 or 2 heaven-level combat skills in 100 dragon boats. As soon as Han Fei arrived, a real soul warrior, enhanced by the secret method of the majestic mystic spell, rushed into the battlefield, which was a horrible scene. However, what surprised Han Fei was that among these 7 people, 3 of them used some kind of secret method on the spot, and their combat power soared instantly. At the same time, they fused with their spiritual beasts and attached with their contractual spiritual beasts, and their strength was increased again. In this way, under the joint efforts of the 3 people, they actually blocked Han Fei's blow. This scene made Han Fei's heart skip a beat. How the fuck did they block it? What surprised Han Fei was that his blow with 5 times his combat power shouldn't have been able to withstand a single blow. However, these disciples of the major sects in the Thousand-Star City were able to resist it. Then, at the 200th floor, how strong would those guys be? Of course, what was even more shocking than Han Fei was that the 3 disciples of the major sects could only block 1 blow with their combined strength. But the second blow came immediately. The 3 of them wanted to block it again, but the power of this blow was even stronger than before. The 3 of them were directly smashed to the ground, bleeding, their internal organs damaged, and they all vomited a mouthful of blood. Of the other 4 people, 2 were entangled by Xia Xiaochan. At this moment, they were being suppressed and had no power to fight back at all. Seeing this scene, the other 2 actually took out a talisman. The first lifeless gate. In front of the 2 of them, a void gate suddenly fell from the sky and landed abruptly, blocking Han Fei's way. Chao Qiu immediately said via voice transmission, "This is the special skill of the Death Door sect of the Thousand-Star City. Its defense is so strong that even my brother and Tang Gu can't break it." Han Fei's heart skipped a beat, and he stabbed the embroidery needle at the void gate that suddenly appeared. Dong! The sound was like muffled thunder, reverberating in all directions. Several cracks appeared on the void gate after Han Fei smashed it with his rod. However, as Chao Qiu said, its defense power was terrifying. Among the 2, one of the spirit gatherers immediately cast a healing technique and injected spiritual energy into his companion's body. However, while the 2 of them were stalling for time with the death door, Han Fei suddenly took out his fishing rod. Everyone? The 2 people on the opposite side were still puzzled. Why did he take out his fishing rod at this moment? However, as Han Fei waved the hook, it appeared on the other side of the death door in the blink of an eye. Before the 2 of them could react at all, the 1,000 twining silk was instantly activated, wrapping the 2 of them like dumplings. Wow! How is this possible? 1,000-mile fishing technique? Chao Chiu also exclaimed in surprise, "Wow! How did you do it?" Even Xia Xiaochan's eyes narrowed. She had seen Wenren Yu and Xiao Zhan use this technique before. With a wave of his hand, the fishing hook broke through the air and flew 1,000 miles away. Now, Han Fei also knew how to do it? These 12 people only felt very aggrieved. The most aggrieved were the 5 guys who were directly trapped by the 6-gate formation. If they were not trapped, they could more or less block a few attacks and buy some time. At this moment, Han Fei smiled and said, "I want money, not life. Leave your sea-swallowing seashells and I'll let you go." Do you know what you are doing? You are issuing a challenge to our Death Door sect. Han Fei grinned and walked up to the person who spoke. Han Fei squatted down, patted his face gently and said, "I am robbing you. I don't care if you are from the Death Door or the Life Door. Even if your house is full of doors, I will still rob you." These disciples of the major sects had never been insulted like this. How could they bear it when their faces had been slapped so hard by Han Fei? This person was about to jump up when he saw a square brick slapping down on him, and he was stunned. Han Fei took out his sea-swallowing seashell casually, pulled at his clothes, and said helplessly, "Why don't you wear any ornaments on your body? Don't you even have an amulet?" "Everyone?" The man was indignant. "Why are you still robbing me?" Han Fei scoffed. "Give them to me. If you don't give them to me, I will." As he spoke, 2 little girls immediately covered their chests. Han Fei said with a black face, "Xia Xiaochan, you robbed the women's." After a while, these 12 people were expelled by Han Fei in batches, and their bodies gradually faded. Chao Chiu was excited watching from the side. So strong. With such a big shot, it wouldn't be a problem to pass the 199th floor and even the 200th floor. Before leaving, a guy looked at Chao Chiu and said, "Chao Chiu, when we go back this time, I will definitely get even with you." Chao Chiu disdainfully said, "If you have the ability, go find Chao Tian. It has nothing to do with me." Han Fei really envied Chao Chiu's attitude. He was crazy about cheating his brother. If there was anything, he would just blame it on his brother. He really didn't know how Chao Chiu survived to this age. And he had actually become an advanced dangling fisher. On this side, Han Fei had just collected the sea-swallowing seashells of these 12 people and sent them out. He hadn't had time to check their sea-swallowing seashells yet. The water rippled and another group of people came. Han Fei was stunned. "Why are there so many people? There are a lot of people on this floor. I'm afraid there are nearly 30 people who have been expelled by us." The hexagon starfish suddenly complained, "Starfish, it's so difficult. The 6-gate formation consumes a lot of spiritual energy, and there are people coming from 3 directions." 3 directions? Han Fei turned his head and saw that there were already figures appearing in the sea. There seemed to be only 1 person in one direction, 2 people in another direction, and 7 or 8 people in another direction. Chao Chiu immediately shouted, "Run, we are going to be surrounded." Xia Xiaochan waved the stick in her hand. Fortunately, there are only a dozen people. Han Fei wondered, "Is that 2 swords? 2 swords?" Chao Chiu immediately looked at the lone figure, and after looking at it for a while, he said in surprise, Yes, that is 2 swords. I can still fight." Han Fei despised him. "Damn it. You can't fight." Chao Chiu nodded. "You can fight." On this side, after feeling the fierce battle here just now, 2 swords knew that the people who could cause such violent fluctuations here were either disciples of some major sect who had a big battle, Tanggu, or Han Fei. And according to his judgment, there was no one fighting as soon as they came in except Han Fei. Sure enough, as he expected, he saw Han Fei, Xia Xiaochan, and Chao Chiu standing in the water from a distance. Of course, he also noticed the arrival of other people. However, he didn't care. Although they only had 3 people on their side, they weren't weak. However, when 2 swords swam closer, he saw that it was Tanggu and Mu Ling on the other side, and he suddenly felt as if he had swallowed a sea urchin. It was so uncomfortable. Han Fei was also a little surprised. "Tanggu is here. There were so many people here, so Han Fei and Tango couldn't show anything. However, the expressions of Xia Xiaochan and Mu Ling became strange. Xia Xiaochan said to him via voice transmission, "Is this guy really your brother? He fought 100 people alone." Han Fei responded, "Of course." Mu Ling also asked at the moment, "Is that person really your brother? Is he really as strong as you say?" Tango nodded. "Of course, he will only be stronger than I imagined. Don't forget, he is hiding his identity now, so he can't use his spiritual beasts and contractual spiritual beasts." On the other side, there were a total of 8 people. However, these 8 people were not wearing the uniforms of the Death Door sect, nor the uniforms of the Heavenly Sword sect, but seemed to be from another sect. Chao Qiu said, "They are from the Sea Cloud Tower." Han Fei was speechless. How many sects are there in the Thousand-Star City? Why are they coming wave after wave? Is there no end to it? Chao Qiu said, "There are more. There are 7 major sections. This Sea Cloud Tower is a little weaker than the Heavenly Sword sect and the Death Door sect, but it is still very powerful." Chapter 455. 2 swords walked into Han Fei's team without scruples. Thus, the scene turned into 3 parties. The leading young armorist of the Sea Cloud Tower frowned at this moment. The situation was beyond his expectations. Who knew that so many people would come all of a sudden? On one side, there was the little fatty of the Chao family and 2 swords, and on the other side, there was Tangu. And judging from their black and white clothes, they didn't look like ordinary people at all. This battle was not only difficult to fight. It could even be said that there was no way to fight. Tangu said to him via voice transmission, "I've seen the leader once. His name is Yuxian. He has reached the peak and is not weak. Do you need me to help?" "No thanks. You can just find an excuse to leave. I can handle 8 of them." Hearing this, Tangu immediately said to Mu Ling, "Let's go." Seeing that Tangu had left, Yuxian secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If I really fought with 2 swords and the others and both sides suffered losses, no one here was a match for Tangu. At that time, it would really be a huge loss. Beside Tangu, Mu Ling asked curiously, "Aren't you going to help him?" Sea Cloud Tower's Yuxian's strength was not bad. Ordinary people can't do anything to that saber formation of his. Tangu put on a faint smile. "Then you're underestimating my brother. His physique was very strong. No matter how powerful Cosign's saber array was, it could only barely trap 2 swords. Hitting my brother? He thinks too much." In fact, after Tango left, Han Fei didn't confront Cosign. Wang Zitian said, "I'll handle Cosign. You 2 handle the rest." Han Fei frowned. "Is that guy strong?" Wang Zitian nodded slightly. "Not weak. His saber ray is a trap and kill array. You can come, but I might not be able to handle the remaining 7. Wang Zitian wasn't very optimistic about Xia Xiaochan. At least, for the time being, he hadn't seen anything particularly outstanding about her. In his opinion, Xia Xiaochan was just a slightly powerful soul warrior, but not a top heavenly talent. As for Han Fei, he had fought with him and witnessed the battle between Han Fei and Tangu. In terms of strength, Wang Zitian acknowledged it. "But we'll leave the leader to you." As soon as Tango left, the battle was about to break out. Kosan didn't know the black and white impermanence, nor had she heard of them. Therefore, his first goal was to intercept 2 swords. As for Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan, in his eyes, no matter how strong the 2 intermediate dangling fishers were, it was impossible for them to defeat 7 fellow disciples. As for Chao Qiu, he simply ignored him. Han Fei said telepathically, "Master Hexagon Starfish, remember to set up an array at the critical moment later." The Hexagon Starfish clung to Han Fei's calf. "I can't. It's too frequent. I lack spiritual energy and energy." Han Fei scoffed. "Stop talking nonsense. When we're done, I'll give you a bit more, 1 high-grade spirit stone." The Hexagon Starfish nodded. Han Fei was so angry that his nose was almost crooked. This damn hexagon starfish has learned to blackmail now. It had become a starfish that would not get up early without benefits. If this went on, it would never be pure again. Two swords held the two swords with both hands, and behind him, sword shadows flashed, and his spiritual beast instantly fused. His whole person was like a sharp sword, directly looking for Kosan. Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan glanced at each other and then at Chao Qiu, who was watching from the side, and then they also rushed up. This was a head-on battle. Unlike the trap just now, if you wanted to trap people in a head-on battle, the first factor was to fight first. You had to make sure that you were not killed by the enemy, and then lay a trap. At this moment, Han Fei took the lead in breaking into the encirclement with his rod. However, the moment Han Fei entered, he was almost scared out of his wits. In all directions, thousands of knife lights flashed. Before Xia Xiaochan had time to rush into the crowd, she immediately retreated dozens of meters when she saw this scene. Xia Xiaochan curled her lips. Only a guy like Han Fei, who had an abnormal physique and strength, could resist this kind of flying snow-style attack. Even for her, if she didn't use her hunter ability, she would only be able to defend herself in such a field of knife lights. And it was the kind that couldn't be defended. Clang, clang, clang. When a clanging sound came from Han Fei's body, Yu Xian knew something was wrong and immediately wanted to go back to help. Wang Zitin blocked in front of him, and a big sword fell from the sky. It's too late to leave now. Han Fei's full blow directly smashed the seawater with a terrifying and explosive force. At least 4 people on the other side returned to their positions at the same time and jointly resisted. These people were also shocked. How could an intermediate dangling fisher be so strong? Wasn't this, however, before they figured it out? Han Fei smiled, turned the embroidery needle, and chopped at the other 2 people. The 4 of them were stunned. Could it be that such an explosive attack was just a feint? But then, the moment the 6-gate formation rose, the battle had come to an end. Chao Qiu had already run here and covered them with a spirit-forbidden net. On the other side, Xia Xiaochan was fighting alone and completely suppressing her opponent, giving him no chance to retaliate at all. Almost within 10 minutes, the 7 people were all wiped out and all lay dead. Yu Xian was dumbfounded. At this moment, he was surrounded by Wang Zitian, Han Fei, and Xia Xiaochan. How the fuck could he fight? Just now, when he saw Han Fei's physique, he knew that this person was not simple and his strength was very likely beyond his expectations. In fact, Han Fei's strength did exceed his expectations. Besides, Han Fei didn't fight head-on but used some tactics. In addition, Chao Qiu, who had been treated as heir, was covered by the spirit-forbidden net. Their failure was already certain. Yu Xian was also very straightforward and put away his knife. Okay, you're good at playing. With that, Yu Xian looked at Han Fei. Who are you? Han Fei replied, soul-snatching. Xia Xiaochan added, life-snatching. We are black and white ghosts. Next time we meet, please prepare your sea-swallowing seashell. Yu Xian took out his sea-swallowing seashell with an ugly face, threw it over, and then looked at his companions. Drop the sea-swallowing seashell and let's go. Wang Zitian said lightly, there are not many teams on the 199th floor. I'll go to the next floor. As for you, before going to the next floor, you'd better think about it carefully. Han Fei responded casually, Chao Qiu, you can also go down. Wait a minute? Everyone? Chao Qiu chuckled and said, can you help me fight the summoned creatures? Everyone. After sending Chao Qiu down, Xia Xiaochan said, are we really going down to fight with so many people? Han Fei thought for a while and shouted, Master Hexagon, open the door and let us go to your door. Swoosh. The hexagon starfish hung directly from Han Fei's calf to Xia Xiaochan's back, rolling his big eyes. The treasures are all mine. I worked hard to earn them. Han Fei laughed and scolded, who wants your treasures? Just go to an empty door. Go to your door and cook a meal. Don't you want energy? I can satisfy you. Anyway, we still have a lot of yellow-blooded sea cucumbers. Hearing that Han Fei wasn't going to his treasure house, the hexagon starfish immediately relaxed. But Xia Xiaochan looked confused. What door? Han Fei smiled. You'll know soon. The world inside the door. Xia Xiaochan found it incredible. How is this possible? Is this the space inside the door of the big starfish? How come it's so big? Han Fei was also a little surprised. Master Hexagon, the world inside your door has doubled in size. The hexagon starfish muttered, I made a breakthrough. Of course it will become bigger. Han Fei sighed. How big can it become? The voice of the hexagon starfish drifted in the empty square. I don't know. I won't know until I make another breakthrough. Han Fei sat on the ground and took out all the pots, bowls, ladles, and basins. Han Fei had to admit that he was quite satisfied with the hexagon starfish. Although this guy was greedy for money and had learned some bad things, he had to admit that the six-gate formation, the formation of the hexagon starfish, was simply an invincible divine formation. With the six-gate formation coupled with the spirit forbidden net, he could easily defeat 10 or 8 people in battles. Han Fei even thought more than once about tricking this big starfish into becoming his contractual spiritual beast. Based on their tacit cooperation, Han Fei thought that he would have an endless supply of money. Han Fei was cooking. Xia Xiaochan, on the other hand, ran to the deepest part of the gate and knocked at the edge of the darkness. Xia Xiaochan said, Big starfish, there seems to be another space outside. The hexagon starfish nodded. I know. Can you stop knocking? I'm itchy. Xia Xiaochan was suspicious. Can you feel this too? With that said, Xia Xiaochan reached out her hand, scratched the dark seal on the boundary, and asked, Itchy. Itchy. Xia Xiaochan scratched with both hands again. How about this? It's even itchier. Han Fei smiled and said, Okay, stop it. Let's eat. Master Hexagon Starfish, you must have a good meal. Don't screw me up on the second floor below. The Hexagon Starfish asked, Can I go out? Do you still want your essence blood? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.